Oh my God.
Isn't that horrible?
He just showed me pictures of the face, dude. Holy shit.
And I flipped him over
I do
again.
understand.
I patted his back.
I do understand.
Man, I tried to wake him up as best I could. I freaked the fuck out, man.
I get
made
it.
him up. Get up, man, please. Please
I
get
understand.
up, man. I didn't do nothing.
Watch your day in there.
I just hurt my son.
I'm not saying you did. All right? I'm not saying you did. Hey.
Oh my God!
Police and paramedics are called to a frantic scene at a Georgia gas station, where the parents of an 8-month-old infant claim he suffered a terrible accident. But the baby's injuries raise chilling questions, and the investigators will have to work their way past an extremely volatile father to find the answers.
If he was to die, it's going to hurt twice. I lose my son, I lose my freedom.
The following report is based on official police records, and the footage has never been seen before until now. Please note that all persons charged with a crime are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty in a court of law. On the night of January 30th, 2022, police and medics in Peach County, Georgia, respond to an emergency call coming from a Buc-ee's gas station. They arrive to find an unresponsive infant and his distraught mother.
Are you Mama? Are you Mama? Okay.
I can't do this.
So what's your name, ma'am?
Shelly Rooks.
You'll go ahead and be
Shelly Brooks? Brooks?
I need to go. Well, we don't know where he's going to go quite yet. I'm not sure where he's going. But y'all got him. Y'all going to be able to get the state one up to him. They're doing everything they can do right now.
Okay, how old is
8 months around about his birthday be about 2021. Central 223.
What's the matter with his right leg?
The fact that the baby already has a pre-existing injury is still on the EMT's mind as they walk around to meet the child's father, Christopher Palmer.
Okay, bud.
My life.
Just
off top of your head.
I don't got it off top of my head.
What is your name?
Shelly Rooks.
Hey,
Shelly, yes.
how long y'all been here?
Last name Rooks. R-O-O-K.
Not long? But what's not long?
You're the mom, right?
Why that?
We're probably going to have one right
Over an hour, probably under 2.
About hour and a half or so, let's say.
Between hour and 2. Shelly, how long we been here?
What was his leg? What was the deal with his leg? How long ago? It was about 2 to 3 weeks his leg, right? He jumped in, played
2
in.
weeks ago.
Okay, 2 weeks ago, and he fell out of the playpen? No. He had jumped in.
Or a year and a half
other
old.
brother
Jumped into the
into the
playpen.
playpen on him.
Wrestling.
No, he just jumps in to take his bottle.
He wants his bottle all the time.
Okay, and he just landed on his leg.
We
Did
don't
they
know.
break it, bruise it?
Sprained it.
I think he sprained it.
Okay.
So talk to us. So what was happening? So what was the call? Was he just stop breathing?
Yes.
No, he fell.
He'll tell you more.
Okay, so he fell? What did he fall? How did he fall? Where did he fall? He fell on his face?
What did he fall on?
It's a real bad thing. He fell.
But what did he fall on? Did he hit his face on the ground? On the ground?
The ground or the floor?
The floor in the house. Oh, shit.
Was he on anything or was he standing up when he did it?
I was holding his seat and he slipped.
24 to 32.
Man,
So he slipped out of your hands?
I'm fucking foolish.
Hey, I'm just calm down, all right? I'm sorry. Hey, Christopher, calm down. I need you to calm down.
I am calm. Trust me, I'm calm as shit.
Okay.
While the child's father tries to keep his composure, Warner Robins police officers begin to sense there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Dude, his hands? Dude, I feel like marks on his hands, marks on him. You saw the head. They said anything?
Said that they were giving him a bath and dropped him.
Bro, that's not a drop.
And that his little brother, who's like 1, jumps in his crib and stuff and lands on top of him all the time. That's how he's got all the bruises.
Bruises don't pop up that quickly. Yeah, on kids.
No.
Baby shouldn't have bruises like that.
No. Absolutely not.
Don't care if you ain't got no place to live up in the RV.
With suspicions building, an officer gets on the phone with his sergeant to explain the situation at Buc-ee's.
We got an 8-month-old, has a pulse, but it's faint. They're working on him. Looks like visible signs of neglect and maybe, I don't know, abuse. There's bruises all over the child. Child's got rash all over him. They're living in this RV. They've been up here for, they said, 2 weeks. my opinion, they both may be under the influence of some type of methamphetamine.
All right, lock everything down. No one leaves. Posted. I'm gonna call the lieutenant.
All right, they're about to transport the baby to Macon.
They're gonna make you go with. It's crime section.
We're locking it down. It's our RV now.
But the baby's parents don't take this news well.
Can we follow behind the ambulance?
No, ma'am. I need y'all in the RV and everybody to stay here. They're about to
You're not
transport
getting
him.
what I'm saying. Can we follow the ambulance? He don't want to see the baby.
No.
I'm going to the hospital.
Listen to what I'm saying. Everyone here, you, your husband, and the RV is staying here until we tell you can leave. Yes, ma'am.
Does that mean he's gone for pretty much?
No, I'm not saying that at all, ma'am.
No, but be honest with me. What does it mean?
It just means that
I know you.
my supervisor has to come out here and talk to y'all before anybody can leave, okay?
Fuck you guys, man. Just put me down too, man. Fuck.
No, sir. We're not going
Yeah,
to do
hell
anything
yeah,
like
you
that.
do. Trust me, I don't want to be here, man.
No, sir. Everything's going to be okay.
Nah, that bullshit. I hear that shit all the time, man. I'm fucking failure, man.
No, you're not, sir.
I should have stayed awake. I was awake with you. I was.
I'm not fucking incapable of it, man. God damn.
What,
Am I that incapable?
As Christopher's agitation grows, the officers discuss their next steps.
He's not doing good.
He's getting unhappy, which, what does he want us to do with him? I think we need to get them away from him.
Like I'm stupid or something.
do what?
He's getting pissed, which is understandable. So,
Mel's getting very agitated.
he's about to start something, try to go to jail.
They won't let me see my son. You won't talk to me. I didn't kill nothing.
Sir,
I didn't do nothing. I'm pissed off, man. Sound like I'm sitting in motherfucking lag up for no goddamn reason, man.
Hey.
What, man?
My name is Sergeant Wilcox. I'm one of the supervisors on duty tonight, okay? I understand that you're upset. I understand.
I'm so pissed off, man.
Listen. This is a traumatic experience, and we understand
Nah,
that.
man, you don't.
Yes, we do.
And I did this. It feels like I tried to fuck, man. I
Listen.
tried my son. I did nothing.
Accidents, listen. Accidents sometimes happen, okay? That doesn't mean they're any less painful, okay? Right now, we have certain procedures that we have to go
Whatever,
through.
man. Do you gotta do something? I go to the hospital, man.
We're going to get you there as soon as we can,
Fucking,
okay?
man, I know that bullshit, man. It takes fucking hours, man. And if I lose my son before I fucking, I better not lose it. I'm telling you, because you'll have to take me to goddamn prison for the rest of my life.
Listen, bear with me. I'm trying to get you an update right now, okay? All right? As I understand it, when he left here, he had a pulse. I'm expecting.
The whole time, man.
I'm expecting good things, okay? You did what a dad's supposed to do. You did what a dad's supposed to do.
What do you need to do?
I need to make a couple of phone calls. I'll be right back.
What do you mean by
Just
phone?
hold tight.
But as the sergeant makes his calls, it quickly becomes clear that holding tight is not Christopher's strong suit.
One officer asked me if I use drugs.
Oh, so that's what it is. They automatically assume it's goddamn drugs. Fuck them, man. They goddamn drugs, motherfucker. My son fell.
Yes, he did.
Because if I'm drunk, I feel happy, man. I ain't goddamn happy.
The pictures are bad. The baby had extensive bruising to the left side of his head, a lot of redness around his mouth. He had spot bruises, almost like fingertip bruises, all over the other side of his forehead, down both arms, hands, and both legs.
I don't even like y'all, man. Oh, man. You make her wait, me wait. Make my kids see this shit, man. See this shit. What's wrong with y'all, man?
The inside of the RV is pretty dadgum nasty. They've got two other children, a 2-year-old and a 3-year-old insid.
What do you guys think? I did this to my baby?
I'm not saying that, sir.
No, say what you think, sir.
No, sir. I'm doing it. All I'm doing is a job. You know what I'm saying? I gotta
Well,
do.
who the fuck's the one that thinks that? If it's just that's what you're pointing towards.
No one's pointing towards
bring it
that.
to my face and we'll figure it out from there.
No one's pointing.
Somebody is, because I'm still sitting here.
We're fixing to have to fight Dad.
Can I make up some bullshit and say I did it and let mother go to the hospital, man? I'll fucking say whatever you need me to fucking goddamn say, man, so someone can be there with my son, man.
We're gonna get y'all out of here as fast as we
Fuck you
can.
with, man. I want her now to go, man. You want to go, Shelly? Right now? Shelly,
I want to be with my baby.
Do you wanna
Yes,
go?
I do. I want to be there. There's no
what do I need to tell you so she can go? Tell me, man, so I know what to say,
That's not
man.
how it works, sir.
It's exactly how it works.
No, sir. It's
If
not.
you need what you got, she can go.
We're gonna get all of y'all out of here as soon as we possibly can.
The officers do their best to keep the frantic father calm, but Christopher's impatience only grows as the minutes tick by.
Fuck this fat shit, man. I gotta stand, man. I can't sit like this in
Can
prison.
you get up and start getting walk around?
Yeah, you want to walk right here?
Fuck off, man.
Sir, you can stand outside the RV.
Fuck you,
here.
man. I'm getting pissed as fuck, man. Man, you guys have to fucking do what you gotta do, right? Can't take it. Hostage, right?
Not a hostage, sir.
Man, the fuck I ain't, man.
Just take a breath. Keep it together for your family.
Man, keep what together, man? You guys are fucking with me now.
In the meantime, Sergeant Wilcox tries to find out what's going on at the hospital.
Yes, sir. Hey, what's up, Dave?
Right now, they put him straight into the operating room. They're looking him over now. I'm waiting for an update from the doctor as we speak.
All right, here's what's going on right now. Baby is up at the hospital. They're examining him now. He does have a heartbeat. He is alive, okay? They're checking on scans and all of that, okay? So we're doing good right now.
I didn't hurt him when I was twitching.
We're doing good right now, okay? Hold together for a few more minutes. I'm gonna try and get a little bit more information. Just a little bit more information.
Man, I hurt him. I know I did do CPR. I know I hurt him.
Sometimes when you do CPR,
no, you understand? I flipped him over again.
Understand.
I patted his back.
I do understand.
Man, I tried to wake him up as best I could. I freaked the fuck out, man. I
get it.
Get up, man, please. Please
I
get
understand.
up, man.
Right now, the child is receiving the absolute best care possible.
Okay,
Macon is a level 1 trauma center.
I'm a little confused. Hold on.
Give us a minute. We're going to be dealing with y'all in just a second.
Confused. So you guys think we did it?
No, sir, he's not saying that. Not saying that.
But Christopher's suspicions about the holdup are growing, and it won't be long before he says something that escalates the situation.
You guys are holding me here against my will. Against my will. That is illegal to hold me against my will. Are we under arrest?
Sir.
Are we under arrest?
You're not under arrest.
So we can leave then, right?
Not right now.
Then I'm under arrest.
No, sir, you're not under arrest.
How can I not leave if I'm not under arrest?
My partner just explained it to you like my supervisor explained.
You guys want
There's
to
an investigation that goes through this.
Does this take hours?
No, ma'am, it's not going to take hours.
We've been here for 40 fucking minutes already. How is it going to take an hour? You say you'll be done in 20 minutes? Is that what you're telling me?
He's literally, they're finishing up with phone calls as we speak.
Phone calls? They still have to get here.
I know, and they're on the way. I can tell you they are on the way. Yes, they are on the way.
Just shoot me, guys. Get the fucking shit out.
Christopher may have meant that as an offhand remark, but the police aren't taking any chances.
He just told Opitz we're going to have to shoot him. Then he has confirmed with me there are firearms in the vehicle.
Have him step out and talk to me.
Okay.
I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a ride up there in my vehicle because it's faster. When he steps out of the vehicle, put him in handcuffs.
Okay.
Boss man, listen, my man. Hey, you ready to go?
Hospital, yes.
I'm going to take you because I can't take everybody in the family. I'm going to take you the quickest in my vehicle.
I'll stay with my family.
Okay, my vehicle's fast. We're going to get there now.
I don't care.
They
I'll
need...
stay with my family.
No. Listen, they need you. I get that.
No,
Your daughter...
No, you don't.
No. Your baby, they need a parent up there to give parental consent. I need you there.
Let us go.
Then come on, let's go.
All of us.
I can only take one at a time.
Either tell your people to get the fuck here, it's important,
They're
or
on-
let us go.
I was on the phone with him when y'all had to come over here and talk to you.
You didn't have to come over.
I did
Now
have
it's my
to.
fault, huh?
No, listen to what I'm saying. Okay? When you tell my guys about something about we're going to have to shoot you and all that,
All
we
I
don't...
said is, please shoot me down my misery, man. We're sitting here doing nothing.
No, that's not the case. We're not doing nothing. We're doing everything right now.
We're sitting here doing nothing.
We're doing everything right now.
You can't pee in our own house because you guys think whatever. When you're all wrong, y'all fuck off, man.
The ruse is unsuccessful, but after a detective arrives on scene to a less than friendly greeting,
Turn. Just stay still.
he briefly interviews the couple, reviews the evidence, and the decision is made to dispense with the games.
Grab him and snatch him out. Grab him and snatch him out. 3, 2, 1, go. Come on out. Come on out. Hold still. Put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest. Put your hands behind your back.
I didn't do nothing.
Put your hands behind your back.
Relax.
Please don't, man.
Don't make this harder than you
I don't want to tell me why I'm under
Put your
arrest.
hand behind your back.
Why am I under arrest? Please tell me why.
You're being detained for investigative purposes. Put your
That's
hands behind
fine,
your back.
but why?
Put your hands
I
behind your
didn't
back.
do nothing.
Stay in there. Richard, watch our back.
I'm good.
Just calm down, sir.
I'm good now. I'm good.
Put your hands behind your back.
You're on my handle, sir. You're on my other
Stand by. We'll get your other hand.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, pull this hand out.
Yeah, pull it out, sir. Can you
Pull
pull
it
it,
out.
sir? Can you pull it?
Pull it out.
There you go.
All right,
Push it, please.
we're going to get you up.
Yes, sir.
Hold still.
I don't know why I'm under.
All right, listen to me. We're good.
All right, hear my throat.
All right, I'm gonna roll you to your side.
Hurt you.
You're on a shirt.
No, I'm not fighting anymore.
All right, listen to me. Okay?
I'm not fighting anymore.
I understand. Listen to me. Right now, baby's still stable, just like
No,
I told
listen,
you.
man.
Listen to me.
Why am I under investigation?
Listen.
I dropped my son.
Look, there's other things in play right here. Okay? You stand by. You keep doing what you're doing right now.
Man,
all right?
man,
this other resistance. Hey, listen. This other resistance, I get it.
I just wanted to know why you arrested me. You didn't tell me.
Right now, there's evidence consistent on that child with abuse or neglect. Okay? We're still investigating all that, but we have enough to detain you right now. That's why we're being detained.
So I'm going to jail. My family don't have me.
You're going to be interviewed. Your wife is going to be interviewed. All right? But you're going to be interviewed at police headquarters.
Christopher temporarily calms down, but when Shelley expresses her doubts about his innocence, he quickly ramps back up again.
You bring the boys to give me a hug before I go?
They said you did it.
How the fuck they do it? Y'all here? Who said I did it? Who said I did it?
Sir.
Did what? Yeah, man, I beat the shit out of him. Fucking wake him up, man.
Here.
Sir, do you want this? I didn't, Shelly. You want to believe? Go fuck ahead, but I did not do it, man. Why would I kill my son?
Your son is still stable, sir.
Why would I even do anything, man?
You want this?
You know why? 'Cause my other charges. That's why they think that. It's not like.
The official police report includes information about Christopher's previous run-ins with the law, which include crimes against women, family violence charges involving Shelley and the kids, and a disturbing offense against 2 young children that landed him on New York's sex offender registry. While it's unclear how these cases were adjudicated, it's certainly clear that Christopher's agitation at the scene is turning into rage.
I feel like I'm gonna get really angry, man.
What's going on?
I'm about to fucking lose my cool, dude. And I don't care about consequences when I do. I fuck up, man.
No, sir. No, you didn't,
Oh, Lord Jesus.
you didn't fuck up.
I'm about to, dog.
Just stay calm for just a little bit.
In a big ass ditch.
Oh my God. Isn't that horrible?
Big ass ditch.
Yeah. He may not even talk to me after that.
Who's the punk ass bitch that fucking thinks they're gonna fucking just point the finger at me? Man the fuck up, dog.
We can go ahead and take him to the PD.
I didn't touch my son, bitch!
With Christopher on the verge of losing it, the cops let him say goodbye to his family.
Okay,
08-444-9708.
I'm sorry, you believe that? You're taking my money too? Fuck, man, I'm going to jail. They're going to put me in jail. They believe I did because my charge. I'm not lying. I know this.
You're going down for
Kelly.
interview right now.
Yeah, right now, but I know what it leads to. I'm not lying.
But
Don't-
mom and baby needs the money, right?
Yeah.
Mom needs
Shelly,
the money
give me-
for the babies?
You want her to have the wallet?
Just give me $40. I'll be all right. And keep your ass.
Is there an ID for you in there? In your wallet?
Shelly, we're going to jail. You hear me?
Say it again.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I've talked.
You know that, don't you? You believe I did it
She
too?
does.
No.
Just look me in my face so I understand. Don't lie to me. What? I did not hurt my son. Look at me. I might have picked at him, but I did not hurt my fucking son like that. I swear to God I did.
The police lead Christopher away and discover that getting him into the transport wagon will not be easy.
Well, I got to breathe for a minute, man.
Breathe.
Oh, man, you guys are going to have to hurt me, man.
No, we don't want-
You're
come
going to
on.
have to dog.
Come on, let's go. We're going to walk. We're going to walk. Come on.
Man.
Calm down. Calm down.
Bitch ass fast. You say that shit, man.
All right, we'll have a seat. Right here.
Yeah! Man, damn, motherfucker!
Come on.
Can't believe I
Come on, my dude.
beat my ass or something, man. I need it, please, man.
No one's beating
Do
you.
it, please. I need it.
Come on. We'll have a
I
seat.
need it, man.
Come on.
Have a seat right there.
Hey,
I
hey.
needed to fucking put
Deep
something
breaths.
about that.
Deep breaths.
Right in my son.
Deep breaths.
I did not hurt my son.
I'm not saying you did. All right? I'm not saying you did. Hey, hey.
Oh my God!
Deep breath.
Take me out, man. I don't want to be here.
No one's taking anybody out.
I don't want to be here. Please hurt me, man. Please hurt me. Do what I gotta do.
Nobody's gonna hurt.
No one's gonna hurt.
Take a ride.
Hurt me, man. Please. I didn't hurt my fucking
Come on,
son.
step back, step back, step back.
I can't breathe.
The police eventually get him in the wagon and transport Shelley, Christopher, and the children to the police station. But while the scene at Buc-ee's is brought to a close, this investigation is only getting started.
Hey man, you remember me from over at the camper? Do you want to talk to me about what happened?
What would you like to talk about?
Well, I got to take you into an interview room and read you Miranda.
What happens if I don't talk to you?
Well, you're being charged anyway at the moment. That's how it's looking. So, I mean, do you want to talk? At the moment, cruelty to children in the first degree, possibly aggravated assault.
Elsewhere at the station, Shelley is given some bad news.
What's the reasoning that they have not allowed me or my family, my children?
Well, for one, we can't get a hold of your dad. And it probably more than likely that's where they'll end up going. Because that's what they ultimately want. They want a trusted family member to watch after these kids, at least for the time being.
So they don't think I'm going to put enough for my children.
Right now, I think it's best if there's an environment change, if nothing else, because they cannot continue to live in an RV with that man.
I agree with you.
They ask Shelley to walk with them down the hallway, where she realizes that things are about to get even worse.
Miss Rooks, just stop for a minute. Okay, turn around.
Huh?
Turn around for us. Just put your hands right here, okay?
Why am I doing that? Can y'all tell me why I'm going to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Please?
To put it bluntly, okay? That child has a lot of injuries, and he's had a lot of medical conditions and a lot of injuries that have not been treated, and they have not been cared for. That child needed to be in a hospital before tonight, and you guys did not take him to a hospital.
But you don't think during that time I wanted it? I did.
It doesn't matter if you wanted it or not. It's the fact that you didn't do it.
How do I do it, though, sir, when I have no other way? He has a gun and he'll hold it to your head or it hurts you. How do you get away from that? You're
It's
telling me
putting your children before yourself. Your fear of physical harm has got to be overridden by your children's safety. It's almost just as bad to sit back and watch and do nothing, though, when you know you could have done something.
But even though Shelley and Christopher have been arrested, many questions remain about what happened tonight and in the weeks leading up to it. And it won't be until investigators sit down with the two for separate interrogations that the full horrors that occurred within their RV will finally come to light.
I'm afraid to talk to you guys about everything again. I don't want to hurt myself anymore. I feel like I'm in a big shit combined, and I don't even know how I got here. I mean, I know why I'm sitting here. People say that.
The other day you told me that it was something else, and I was just saying that I hurt my baby. I never touched my child.
Who's saying that, though?
They said that's what my charges are. It's all my baby.
You're not charged with that, ma'am. And I'll go ahead and tell you right now, you're not charged with inflicting harm on your child. We are not saying that you are the one that did that.
I never hurt my babies.
We're not accusing you of physically doing the harm, but the fact that in the situation he's in and nobody intervened soon enough to prevent that. So that's kind of where we stand with your charges.
The detectives realize that if they're going to get the true story out of Christopher and Shelley, they'll need to know more about their transient lifestyle.
Where do you guys get the money to put the gas in? And
we had to fly every day. That was like hold a sign and kill us. You know, having to be able to have that normal life to do that hurt. Like every time we would ride down, I'd say, I wish we could stop doing this and I could have a life like these people at this house when I seen it, or we see somebody play and it would affect me, and we always had to do that. Never had a stable life like that.
what did he say when you would ask for a more stable life?
Can't do it. It's better to go. It's better to be on it. We gotta go. We gotta go.
Was he paranoid? And when I say that, was he nervous about other people?
Because he had previous charges, so the people would always try to hurt him because of that, or Andy was wanted at one time.
Witnesses who ran across the couple say they would often carry signs saying they lost their house in a fire, which may not be entirely false. Shelley's father tells police that Christopher torched the previous camper. The detectives dig deeper into the couple's dynamic, only to find a vault of troubling secrets buried beneath the surface.
So I got a question about the inside of the bathroom door has a little damage. Like,
There's a lot of damage where I got mad when they ripped it apart.
what happened?
I was just angry that day.
Whatever he had at that point, put it locked in either the bathroom, and he felt like I was going to leave that night. I'd be where I couldn't leave.
He'd lock in the bathroom. How would he do that?
Like with the lock thing on the door, is where you put up.
And you did that damage, not anyone else?
No. That was when she was going to leave one time over something stupid. Her family picture. I don't know. It's a big wreck.
She wasn't inside that bathroom, locked in that bathroom, though?
I don't know. Why was she in the bathroom locked in the bathroom? Can't lock any doors anyway. You don't have locks on.
Would she ever feel like that she couldn't leave?
No, I don't know. Even anytime she wants to leave.
But that's not the picture Shelley paints of their relationship.
Hit me across my eyes, punch me here, just jump on top. Like if he got real upset, jump on top of me, on top of the bed, and holding the knife to me. Even when I was pregnant, many a times.
What would he say when he did stuff like that? What kind of comments would he say to you?
You fat bitch, why you gotta look at everybody in the world? And I always kept my head down and turned. I never even looked up to even look at everybody. Always looking at somebody.
Even at Bucky's, police were suspicious that Shelley and Christopher were not exactly equal partners.
I have no doubt that the guy shoots batteries. I mean, really. I mean, if I would have had to bet my pace, I would say she's battered. He keeps her.
Well, he was born in 81, so he's 41. She's born in 96. Yeah. She's half his age.
It's one. I have no doubt.
Can I ask you, and don't be offended by this, do you have an intellectual disability?
What's that? What's happening?
Do you have any type of disability?
Yeah.
You do? What do you have?
I don't know if I'm not paid for it. I just know it's hard for me to do life like normally. Like, I always want to be somebody else because I don't understand. And
so do you get disability checks?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
How have you been spending those?
He spends them. I have no control over money.
So you don't even know where they're going?
Shelley's mother would tell police in a later interview that Shelley's father had been in control of her disability payments until he became overwhelmed with the constant harassment from Christopher about the money. Soon thereafter, she said she believed that Christopher gained complete control over Shelley's finances.
Does anybody get any disability or?
Shelley does, yeah.
She does?
She gets a side.
Oh, she does?
Yeah.
How much does she get per month?
I don't remember. Changes.
It changes? Why does it change?
Well, it depends on yearly thing. I don't know. She does all that.
She does all that?
Regardless, the detectives continue to theorize that Christopher is dominant over Shelley, which may help explain something the cops discovered in the RV on the night of the incident.
Hey, sir.
What's up, bud?
Guess what we have?
Hold on.
What y'all got?
Look it. Handcuffs.
Man, those look just like mine.
Handcuffs. What are the handcuffs for?
Someone gave them to me, and so that's cool. I know because when I came down there, there was a password for me. The keys were in my wallet. I kept them separate. I had them locked up and fixed my bags with lots of play on and handcuff everything.
I saw it. Did he use handcuffs for anything?
Huh?
Handcuffs?
Yeah.
What did he use them for?
Put on me there.
So he was holding you there against your will. So he'd handcuff you. Would he handcuff you to anything, or would he just put you in handcuffs?
I just put them on.
Okay. And you said he would tie you up. Would he tie your legs up too?
And sometimes it depends on if he wanted to or not. It was different. You know, like him.
Shelley says that there were additional factors at play, and the detectives listened to one of the most bizarre stories of the night.
And then he'll be on that meth. He'll be like, hush. And I said, it's not his fault. He's a child. He can talk. No, he can't.
He said he'll be on what?
Okay, like he'll be on the drug, the meth.
So Christopher uses meth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was that often?
Well, it went to every day now. It used to be every so often, every 6 to 8 months, and now it's basically
Every day? Did you use any meth?
not willingly when he put it in me, and it was twice, and it's been recently, and he wanted me to start talking about that it was no good. It would be better for us, and then he put it in twice, pushed it.
Okay. Was it powder or a rock?
I don't know.
Do you remember what it looked like?
I know he did a card, but when he did it, but he didn't do that when he did it. But I think it was hard.
It was hard when you put it in. Did it hurt?
It hurt. It burned.
Okay.
Did he ever do that with the children at all?
No, I do not. It's just me. He said it would enhance the sex.
And Shelley told us that both you and her had used methamphetamine, and that can make you act outside of your normal.
That was before all that.
Well,
Like
you
that
could
day?
do things that you forget about doing, stuff that you normally wouldn't do.
But
if
we
you
were
didn't.
doing this before this happened.
Like the day before?
Like
Or?
weeks before. Like a week
Oh.
before, 3, 4. I mean, we didn't do it for 3, 4 days before that happened.
In addition to the use of illicit substances, the investigators are also concerned about the firearms in the RV, which shouldn't be there considering Christopher's background, which came up at the scene.
You got camo on you, do hunt Netler? You don't?
Yeah, for the most part, legally. I'm a felon. I can't fucking hold a gun.
You guys have a firearm inside of the camper as well.
She has several.
But you're not allowed to have access to any firearms.
No, I don't know. That's her.
Yeah, but you still can't be in there with them.
You mean?
It means that you can't have the way that where the firearm was located at. You have easy access to, because I mean it's in a camper.
It's in her home.
Correct, but you can if you were residing there, you cannot have access to that firearm. It's an open, easy access where it was found.
According to Shelley, Christopher not only had access to the firearms, he would use them.
He was holding a gun to her. That's why he's sleeping.
So he was holding you hostage?
He's been holding me hostage, and then he said, "If you don't come back to me, if you go to your dad, and then I get out, I'm coming for all you. And I know you love your dad the most, and I'll kill him first." And it's always been a threat.
At Buc-ee's, Shelley told police that this wouldn't be the last time Christopher wielded a firearm.
He shot the gun through the camper the other day.
Really?
I don't know what he hit.
Okay.
I wanted to get away, but he takes the keys, he watches the keys in the holes in the wall. He said he hit the ground. So I seen the bullet fly was standing near.
These disturbing stories paint the picture of an erratic family life, one that Shelley has discussed in the past in text messages with Christopher's ex, Megan. After Shelley talks about the lengths she's gone through to fight some of Christopher's previous charges, Megan warns her, "Just be careful, I dealt with a hell of a lot of abuse at his hands. He's the reason I conceal carry. Do what's best for you and the kids, but always stay safe." But Shelley tells her that he has changed. With what they've seen over the last couple of days, the detectives question that conclusion.
The other boys also have bruising.
Oh, they fucking roughhouse play. They scratch through a dog, jumps on where the dog's told them down. Yeah, they're boys.
They're boys. I don't have boys, I have girls.
Hey, there's fake probably, I don't know, once last year, a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good. Roughhouse and jumps, literally gets up on everything, climbs on the thing in the middle, swings and tries to jump into the middle of the island of the camper, falls all the time. And he's a monkey, yeah, so he's bruised up, I guarantee you.
Gets up on the counters and he falls, he hits everything. Toys. The wooden thing has a nail in it where it's broke. He hits that with his legs, climbing up and down the dash constantly.
How old is he?
He is almost 2.
With that, the detectives turn their attention to something that police have questioned since the moment they arrived at Buc-ee's: the homemade cast around the 8-month-old baby's leg. Shelley insists once again that the injury was a result of her older child jumping on the baby in the playpen.
It was already wrapped. How'd that happen?
He jumped in on him is what Chris said.
Well, we know that's not true.
Yeah.
So we know the type of...
But I wasn't around for the rib or inch that, or I would have known. I'll wrap his leg, and I said, we need to take him to the doctor. His leg's hurt. It's hurt. It shouldn't have sprained, it'll heal it. But he's hurting. I didn't know about the rib. But I know about the leg because it was swell. I want to take it. You just know what the fuck you're always talking about, don't you? Don't you? Don't you? I'm not taking him nowhere. I'm telling you his leg and he'll just hush. And then he started getting mad and I just...
And he never went to the hospital for that, right?
For the leg?
Yes, ma'am.
No, she tried to take him and Chris wouldn't let her.
I probably should have gone to the hospital now I think about it, but...
According to news reports, medical experts identified the break in the baby's leg as a bucket handle fracture, an injury known to pediatric physicians as a possible sign of intentional harm.
And the way it's described to us on how you obtain this type of fracture is either a child being shook and the foot dangling at a rapid rate, or the child being upside down and then grabbing the ankle and shaking him. Do you ever play with the boys and like maybe flip them upside down, or
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay.
Toss them in the air.
Has any of them or either of the younger ones ever cried when you've done that?
Maybe a couple times, and then I stopped and asked them to come to them, yeah.
This is what he tried to, the leg?
Yeah.
And that's what he tried to cast his swollen leg with?
Yeah.
And he did that himself with stuff that he bought? Where did he get that stuff from?
You know.
You guys tried to treat his leg yourself, right?
Man, start there. It doesn't mean we fucking killed their sons.
I don't know why you keep saying that. Because he is not dead.
I feel like yes, because I don't know nothing about what's going on.
But I've told you multiple times that he's not dead and that they're just giving him medical
It's because I
assistance.
heard, what I thought I heard someone say yesterday to me was that they want to unplug his life support. So to me,
Who said that to you?
But while the baby's broken leg is of the utmost concern to the investigators, it's far from the only injury they observed.
Garrett just called and goes, I don't know if he got pictures or not, but he's got bruising all over his head. I said, yeah. He goes, the way they described it is it looked like somebody grabbed him by the top of the head like a claw machine.
Look at the top of that head. See the top of that head? Somebody's hitting that head. Those are not,
I know he flicks him and
Who flicks him?
Christopher.
He flicks him?
Yeah.
Like,
Stop crying.
no, how hard does he flick him?
Like, can I do it to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe not. I'm not as hard as a man.
Seems kind of cruel to do that to a baby.
Yeah.
something like this, like that, that'd get bruised on?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the child that young.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So I heard my son didn't know it.
Those potentially could be from that. They could potentially be from that.
Will I be in trouble for something like that now? Probably.
The answers thus far have raised many red flags, but the most important questions, the ones about how the baby wound up in critical condition, are still to come.
So you said that he fell. Where did he fall from?
Counter to the floor.
Christopher says that after Shelley went to lie down with the other boys, he prepared to give the baby a bath in the kitchen sink.
When I get up, I go in front, smoke by the window, go back to my scratchers, and I shit, the water can get cold, and I turn the paint on again. I go out there and I sit on the counter. Now the sink had stuff in it, and I said one stuff to one side. And I can't show you because of the cough, but imagine my one hand on by his belly. He said, his little legs hanging. I'm holding him. I got like this, and I'm cleaning out the sink, putting stuff over, and I kicked the water. So I had a couple things I was gonna rinse it off and throw it in, and he jerked. And I don't know why he jerked at the time. He jerked and slipped around. I went to grab him, and when I did, I went to swoop him. I mean, I couldn't catch him. He fell in my grip. I went to swoop down to get him. And then his head hit really hard on the side. That's all I know. His head hit his neck back. And
which side do you think the head? Which side of his head do you think?
His left side. I'm pretty sure.
Left side.
I'm pretty sure. Yes, ma'am. I mean, at that time, I don't remember it too well. I mean, it happens like that. Then it all seems like my fault. I did absolutely nothing right.
Well, so
I yelled, Shelley, get up, because she was sleeping. Now
I think
get up, please, somebody, hurt me.
I think from that point there. So I do think that there's a lot of truth.
No, man, I said, please help. Then she started yelling at herself. Said, don't do that. She goes, I never went to sleep. I should never went to sleep. Why, Shelley? Nothing happened. It's just an accident, please. Go get help. That's all I had to do is go get help. Please, just go get help.
But Shelley says a couple of things aroused her suspicions when she woke up and saw what was happening.
Well, I wasn't there a towel up, but when I woke up and he said that to me, I dropped him and I was going to give him a bath. Why didn't you have the sink cleared?
Why wasn't there a towel?
What was in the sink after you gave the other two children a bath?
Well, I gave them a bath in the tub.
Okay.
I don't know what was all in the sink, but I'm going to tell you right now, I think I always had something in it. You would have had to clear it out.
After the fall, Chris says he did everything he could to revive the baby.
This is the part that scares me the most. When I was doing CPR and I went to push, this is the guy that drew. I plugged his nose, went to push, and air would not go back. His lungs would not come up. I swear to God. His lungs would not fill up. It felt like I hit a wall.
That's really common.
No, I thought that's why he jerked. He's choking. I flipped him around. Tried to do the Heimlich maneuver. Nothing came out. Nothing came out. So I went to do CPR. And when I pushed a couple more, I said, I didn't get that. So maybe I should push a little harder. I'm not doing hard enough. And as I kept pushing it, blood came out. Yellow stuff came out. I said, I fucked my son up.
Christopher continues to describe how he went to extraordinary lengths to provide aid to the baby.
I know when I went to put him where he fell here, it was slippery because he had all this stuff coming out. I swear when I moved him over to the carpet area, we have a pair of stairs that come up. He fell on the stairs. I picked him up. I even put him upside down, tapped on him. I want to hear him cry. Please cry. Please, I kept saying, cry, make the noise, cry. You know, like they do sounds stupid, but in the movies, they'll slam on their bottom or their feet, make a baby cry.
Yeah.
I tried, it didn't work. He didn't cry.
Christopher gave several demonstrations of his aggressive rescue efforts at Buc-ee's as well, drawing a certain amount of skepticism from the police on scene.
He may know something about CPR, and he's using the choking thing where you strike the baby on the back as an excuse for the abuse.
In her interview, Shelley backs up Christopher's version of events.
He has some pretty bad injuries, okay? Some injuries that would indicate to us that he was either slammed on the ground or shook. Okay, and
when I walked in there, we think called the ambulance that night. When I got that jumped up out of bed, he was moving and shaking all over the place. I can't tell you what side to side or what way, but
he was.
Yeah, with the baby, breathe, just going crazy.
Well, where was he at?
And all over the living room, right there where the living room is and kitchen. Please breathe, don't stop on me. And I ran out the door and called for help.
In a forensic interview, Shelley's older child said his baby brother was in the hospital because, quote, my daddy whooped him. When asked how the baby was whooped, he said that his father smacked him on the floor. Back in the interrogation room, the couple is asked again about the baby's other injuries, none of which could have been caused by even the most violent CPR attempts.
So I understand that you're saying that he fell, and I'm not questioning that. There are marks on the bottom of his feet, on the heels of his feet, and it's not a common injury. And we're trying to figure out where those came from.
We don't know.
Did you guys see them though?
Yes.
So you did know about them?
Yes.
He got in a walker and scuffed his feet and toes, I know, about 3 weeks ago because he had a walker and he was trying to push.
So these
and
are
the toes started bleeding, I know.
the toes,
That's
but we're being told that he's got some markings back here on the feet.
On the heel.
Yeah.
It would be like if he tried to do that, he would immediately stop because it would hurt too much. The way you're explaining
I know it's toes.
So we're being told that either one of two things: a laceration where somebody hit him with something, or a burn where somebody has burned him.
Shelley can't explain the foot injuries, but Christopher is about to add another suspect to the list, his 2-year-old son.
I know a lot of it. I'm jealous of him. He will jump in his crib. He will hit him. I don't know if he has a scar right here where with a knife. Yep. Because he got him out of the crib. He'll hit the baby with lots of toys all the time. All the time. Every time we turn our back, he's in that playpen trying to take that bottle. And he bops them all the lines.
So these bruises on hands, do you see them here?
Yeah.
So where would something like that come from? These are the bruises. You see them? It looks to me like somebody squeezed his hand.
maybe when he was squeezing him and jerking him around that night.
No, these are different stages of healing. You see, this one is black and blue. This one is red. This one is really dark. This one is more green.
I've seen these on his head, but I've never seen them on his hands.
Okay, well, let's look at his arm. Look at that bruise.
Mm-hmm. That's because he was always in a onesie, too, though, and Trina had him.
Long sleeve onesie?
Yeah, covered the feet and hands for a while. He wouldn't let him wear nothing else.
But the excuses are doing little to further the case for innocence, particularly since this isn't the first time something like this has happened.
We lost our other son. We was at my dad's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we woke up.
You lost your other son?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
He was 2019, I think, yeah.
According to a 2019 report from the Sheriff's Office in Brantley County, Georgia, EMTs arrived at the house of Daryl Brooks, Shelley's father, in response to a call about an infant not breathing. Shelley told police that she'd breastfed her newborn baby before falling asleep with the baby and Christopher in the bed next to her. Police note that the nearby crib was occupied by a machete and a baseball bat. Christopher woke up later to find the baby unresponsive and called 911. At the hospital, the doctor determined that the child had been injured while feeding, appearing to have suffocated on his mother's breast.
Ultimately, what happened when Dakota passed away?
What do you mean?
Did they, what did they do for you guys? Did they say, hey, you know, this is where we're at? What happened? Did you have to make a choice to say?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
They told me it would be 30 minutes that he would be breathing for it to let him go because there was no oxygen or whatever. Everything was gone or something like that.
So
basically, they told me it was it would be better to let him go. And then it took me a while to make that choice. When I did, he lasted for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Though Shelley's parents suspect that Christopher killed the baby in 2019, neither he nor Shelley faced any charges, and it was ruled a case of sudden infant death syndrome, according to Shelley. While the detectives can't dismiss that piece of dark history, everyone's primary concern is with the baby currently in the hospital.
What's going on with my baby?
Well,
Honestly, what is really happening with my baby?
like we said, he has the fractures, the healing fractures. He is being assisted with medical assist where they have him helping him breathe, making sure that
he chance that he can pull through.
I don't know. They didn't tell us that. He's not in the best condition. I'll tell you that. He could be in a better condition.
Could he make it out? Could he be able to live this earth with us?
I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell you that. I don't know that answer.
The detective makes it clear, though, that Shelley will have to separate herself from Christopher.
Coming to an end, separating from him, this is going to be the hardest thing you ever do.
I know it's been really hard. I wanted to do it so bad before now. Even last time I said I'm not going back. I'll right back.
You got to just be strong for yourself. And when you're not strong enough for yourself, be strong for your kids, okay?
And Christopher, meanwhile, prepares for the worst.
If he was to die, it's been hurt twice. I lose my son. I lose my freedom.
Sadly, on February 4th, 2022, 8-month-old Cody Palmer is pronounced dead at the hospital at 4:46 a.m., 5 days after the incident in the RV. The coroner rules his death to be caused by a traumatic brain injury. The tragic outcome is undoubtedly the last result anyone wanted, including the officers who responded that first night, who were already struggling with the horrors they'd seen.
I know you got small kids. Are you okay with this?
I mean, I won't lie. Like, I teared up a second. Like, it hurts, man.
I know. Me too.
So.
Me too. Turner's got a baby at the house, man. We're gonna talk. All of us are gonna talk.
Yes, sir.
All of us are gonna talk. But yeah, this is why we do what we do right here. Evil exists, and our job is to make sure we get it under control. And so, we can't do anything to stop what's happened to baby boy, but we can stop what's happening to everybody else involved.
According to news reports, the couple's older 2 children were placed in foster care, where they remain together.
I've been around kids my whole life. I've never a kid. I've always loved my children and other children.
Well,
I wasn't even a party. I would watch everybody else's kids.
We think that we know that you love your babies, and And I think that the hardest part is the fear that you had in this domestic situation prevented you from doing what mothers need to do, and that is protect our babies, right?
It did, but it don't have to be hurting if I would have went back. I went to shelter, I've never did that. I put me and them kids through a lot to have at home, even though it wasn't denied. And I gave it all up to go back.
Well, you know what? Let's look forward from here. What can we do to help you? What can we do that's best for all of the children?
Even my family said on that phone, I told you not to go back. I told you.
On the night of Shelley's arrest, Detective Richards echoed the sentiment without mincing words.
Do or die.
Yeah.
You either save your kids or die trying.
Exactly.
So, it is what it is.
Shelley Rooks was booked on first-degree cruelty to children, felony aggravated assault, and second-degree murder. According to news reports, however, she was deemed incompetent to stand trial and is unlikely to face prosecution in Cody's death.
I've never seen nobody as violent as Chris.
You've never?
Never. I've always had good people around me better than my daddy got angry and stuff.
Not like this.
Not like this. This was a monster.
It takes a village, but it takes a good village.
You guys were strong enough to go through it once. I believe that God doesn't give you more than what you can handle, right?
Twice. And be imprisoned.
Christopher Palmer was booked on first-degree cruelty to children, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, felony murder, and malice murder. According to news accounts, the jury deliberated for only an hour and a half before convicting him in November 2024 of those charges, in addition to malice murder. Reports say he was sentenced to life in prison plus 10 years, with no possibility of parole.
Part 1. The Call. Chapter 1. The Glow. The Buc-ee's gas station rose out of the black Georgia night, like a garish, self-contained planet. Its lights were a ferocious, artificial daytime, bleaching the color from the sky and casting long, dancing shadows from the dozens of gas pumps. It was a cathedral of convenience, a monument to the American road, smelling of cheap gasoline, slow-cooked brisket, and the faint, sweet scent of fudge. Inside, families milled under the benevolent, buck-toothed gaze of the beaver mascot, their laughter echoing in the cavernous space. Outside, under the relentless hum of the fluorescent canopy, a different world was imploding. The first scream was sharp enough to cut through the drone of idling engines. It wasn't a child's tantrum or a teenager's shriek of laughter. It was a raw, serrated sound of pure panic. A woman's voice, shredded by terror. Shelley Rooks was a ghost bathed in neon. Her frame was so slight it seemed the mild January breeze might carry her away. Her hair, the color of dirty straw, clung to a face that was all sharp angles and hollows. But it was her eyes that held the true horror wide, vacant pools of a blue so pale it was almost white, reflecting the sterile lights above. In her arms, she cradled a small, limp bundle. "He's not breathing. Oh my God, please, somebody help me. He's not breathing." Her cries drew a small constellation of onlookers. A trucker in a grease-stained hat paused on his way to the restroom. A mother, her own toddler strapped into a car seat, stared with a hand over her mouth. They saw the woman. They saw the tiny form in her arms, and a collective, helpless paralysis took hold. Then a man erupted from a battered, sun-faded RV parked near the edge of the lot. He was the opposite of Shelley in every way, a storm of frantic energy where she was a vacuum of despair. Christopher Palmer was built like a fire hydrant, thick and solid, with a shaved head that gleamed under the lights. Tattoos snaked up his neck and disappeared beneath a grimy t-shirt. "What the fuck are you doing?" he roared, his voice a gravelly bark that made people flinch. He wasn't looking at the onlookers. His fury was aimed squarely at Shelley. "Get back in the car. You're making a scene." He grabbed her arm, his thick fingers digging into her thin bicep. But for once, she resisted. A flicker of something maternal instinct, perhaps, or the last ember of a will long since extinguished, made her wrench away from him. "He's not breathing, Chris. I told you. I told you something was wrong." Christopher's face contorted. A mask of rage. And something else. Fear. A wild, cornered animal fear. He snatched the baby from her arms. The infant's head lolled back with an unnatural looseness. a tiny, pale face under the unforgiving lights. Christopher turned the baby over, his movements clumsy and violent. He smacked the infant's back with the heel of his hand, the dull thud sickeningly loud in the sudden quiet. "Wake up! Fucking wake up, you little shit!" he bellowed, shaking the tiny body. Inside the store, a night shift manager named Brenda, a woman whose placid expression had been hardened by years of dealing with drifters and drunks, was already on the phone. "Yes, ma'am. Bucky's on I-75, Peach County. There's a man," he's screaming at a baby. "No, the baby's not moving. Please, you need to get someone here now." He looks like he's going to kill someone. The call went out. A non-responsive infant at the Bucky's. It was a call that always tightened the chests of the first responders who heard it. In the geography of emergency calls, a child down was the darkest territory. For Christopher Palmer, the world had narrowed to this single blindingly lit stage. The gawking faces, the approaching sirens, the limp weight in his hands, it was all closing in. He looked down at the child, his child, and saw not a son, but an accusation. A tiny, silent witness to a universe of horrors contained within the thin metal walls of their rolling home. He flipped the baby over again, his thumb pressing hard into the infant's chest, a crude pantomime of CPR. "I'm trying to save him," he screamed to the unblinking eye of the security camera above pump 17. "I'm trying to save my son!" But Shelley knew. As she watched the man she both feared and followed, she knew. It wasn't a rescue. It was a performance. And the show was just beginning. Chapter 2. Officer Mendez. Officer Marcus Mendez steered his patrol car through the late-night traffic. The Bucky's sign, a distant, cheerful beacon. He was 42, with a neatly trimmed mustache that was starting to show threads of gray and eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything, yet held a stubborn refusal to become completely cynical. He was a father of 2 girls, and calls involving children always felt like a personal affront. A tear in the fabric of the world he was sworn to protect. The dispatch crackled with updates. Caller reports father is becoming aggressive. Appears to be performing CPR, but is being very rough with the infant. Mendez pressed a little harder on the accelerator. The scene that greeted him was one of controlled chaos. 2 paramedics were already there, a shield of calm professionalism around the tiny victim. One was rhythmically compressing the baby's chest with 2 fingers, while the other worked an ambu bag, forcing air into lungs that refused to accept it. Mendez's eyes did a quick, practiced sweep. The mother, Shelley Rooks, stood a few feet away, wrapped in a stranger's jacket, shivering uncontrollably. She looked like a refugee, displaced from her own life. Then he saw the father. Christopher Palmer was pacing like a caged wolf, his fists clenched, his jaw working silently. He was radiating an energy so volatile it was almost visible, a shimmering heat haze of rage. Mendez approached the mother first. It was always the mother first. "Ma'am, I'm Officer Mendez. Can you tell me what happened?" Her name came out in a whisper. Shelley. Rooks. Her eyes darted towards Christopher, a quick, terrified flick. He fell." "Okay," Mendez said, keeping his voice low and even. "How did he fall?" Before she could answer, Christopher was there, inserting himself between them. "I was giving him a bath. He slipped out of my hands. It was my fault. I'm a fucking fool." The confession was too quick, too loud. It wasn't grief. It was a declaration. Mendez looked from Christopher's bulging, bloodshot eyes to Shelley's haunted face. The air was thick with lies. "Sir, I need you to step back and let me talk to your wife," Mendez said calmly. "She's not my wife," Christopher snapped. "And she doesn't know anything. She was asleep. I was the one with him." He pointed a thick, trembling finger at his own chest. "It was me." A paramedic glanced up, his face grim. "We've got a pulse, but it's faint. We're transporting now." He looked at Mendez, a silent message passing between them. "This is bad. Real bad." Mendez watched as they loaded the gurney into the ambulance. The baby, Cody, was a still life of medical intervention tubes and wires obscuring a small face, already blooming with unnatural color. There were bruises, dark, ugly smudges on his forehead, and a horrifying deep purple swelling that consumed the entire left side of his head. And then Mendez saw his leg. It was wrapped in a crude, lumpy cast made of what looked like an ace bandage and strips of cardboard held together with duct tape. "What's the deal with his leg?" Mendez asked, turning his attention back to Christopher. "The other kid," Christopher said, his story shifting seamlessly. "His brother. He's a year and a half old. A wild man. Jumps in the playpen on him all the time. Landed on his leg a couple weeks ago. Sprained it." Mendez's internal alarm, honed by 2 decades on the force, was screaming. A sprain? In a cast made of garbage? An infant covered in bruises? He shared a look with his partner, a younger officer named Turner, who was quietly taking notes. Turner's eyes were wide. Even a rookie could see this wasn't right. "Sir, we're going to need you and your family to stay here for a little while," Mendez said, his tone shifting from conversational to official. "We need to figure out exactly what happened." "We're following the ambulance," Christopher declared. "No, sir. Not right now. Your RV is now part of an investigation. It's a crime scene." The words hit Christopher like a physical blow. The mask of the grieving father dissolved, replaced by pure, unadulterated fury. "You can't do this. That's my son. I'm going to the hospital." "My supervisor is on the way," Mendez said, planting his feet. He was a wall, and Christopher was the wave that was about to break against it. "Nobody is leaving until he gets here." Christopher's face was inches from his. Mendez could smell the stale sweat, the faint chemical tang on his breath. Meth. It was always meth. It explained the paranoia, the explosive rage, the whole damn tragic picture. "You're fucking with me now," Christopher hissed, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper. Mendez held his gaze. "No, sir. I'm doing my job." He could feel the situation sliding towards a point of no return. This wasn't just an interview anymore. It was a containment. He was standing at the threshold of a terrible place, and his job was to keep the monster from getting out. Chapter 3. The smallest victim. Inside the rocking, swaying box of the ambulance, paramedic David Chen worked with a focused intensity that blocked out everything but the child on the gurney. He'd been a medic for 12 years, and he'd developed a mental armor for calls like this. A necessary detachment. But sometimes, the armor cracked. Cody Palmer was cracking it. The infant was awash in the clinical blue-white light of the ambulance interior. His skin was mottled and cool to the touch. The pulse they'd found was thready, a butterfly's wing fluttering against the void. His partner, Maria, was driving, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her foot heavy on the gas. "How's he doing back there, Dave?" she called, her voice tight. "Holding on." "Barely," David said, adjusting the pediatric oxygen mask. The child's face was a roadmap of trauma. The bruising on his forehead wasn't a single impact mark. It was a cluster of smaller, distinct bruises, circular and ugly. David had seen them before. They looked like fingerprints. Like someone had gripped the baby's head like a claw machine, squeezing with unimaginable force. He ran his gloved hands gently over the infant's body, his touch a silent inventory of pain. There were bruises on the arms, the tiny hands, the legs. They were in different stages of healing. Some were yellowish green, others a deep, angry purple. This wasn't the result of a single fall. This was a history written on the canvas of a child's skin. Then there was the leg. The homemade cast was a mockery of medical care. David took a pair of trauma shears and carefully cut it away. The smell of stale sweat and filth was immediate. Beneath the grimy bandages, the leg was swollen and grotesquely angled. He didn't have to be a doctor to know it was broken. A bad break. He relayed the findings over the radio to the receiving hospital, his voice a clipped, emotionless monotone that belied the fury building in his gut. 8-month-old male, unresponsive on scene. Faint pulse restored via CPR. Extensive bruising to the head, torso, and extremities, all in various stages of healing. Apparent untreated fracture of the left femur. ETA, 5 minutes. He looked at Cody's face. The baby's mouth was slack, a little bubble of bloody fluid at the corner. The redness around his lips was raw, chapped. It was the face of a child who had cried until he could cry no more. David thought of his own son, tucked safely in his crib at home, his little chest rising and falling with the easy rhythm of a life untouched by such darkness. The contrast was a physical pain, a hot poker in his own chest. He felt a surge of pure, primal hatred for the man pacing back at the gas station. the man who called himself this child's father. "Dropped him in the bath," he muttered to himself, the words tasting like poison. The story was an insult to his intelligence, an insult to this baby's suffering. A fall in a tub didn't cause old bruises. It didn't cause a 2-week-old broken leg. It didn't cause the pattern of fingertip-shaped marks on a child's forehead. As they pulled into the ambulance bay of the Macon Trauma Center, the hospital team was waiting. The transfer from gurney to hospital bed was a seamless, urgent ballet. A doctor began barking orders. Nurses swarmed, attaching monitors, drawing blood, preparing for a CT scan. David stood back, his part in the drama over. He watched as they wheeled Cody through the double doors of the emergency room, a tiny, broken vessel in a sea of sterile green scrubs. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the baby would likely never leave this place. He stripped off his gloves and threw them in the biohazard bin with more force than necessary. The armor was gone. All that was left was the raw, aching wound of a world that allowed something like this to happen. He walked back to the ambulance. The cheerful, buck-toothed face of the Buc-ee's beaver burned into his memory like a profane icon, a smiling witness to the absolute worst of humanity. Chapter 4. The Tin Can Coffin. While Officer Mendez managed the escalating crisis with Christopher Palmer, Officer Turner was tasked with the preliminary search of the RV. It was a late-model camper, but years on the road and a profound neglect had taken their toll. The paint was peeling, the tires were bald, and a film of road grime coated every surface, making it look less like a home and more like a derelict vessel washed ashore in a sea of asphalt. Turner pulled on a pair of latex gloves and pushed open the flimsy door. The smell hit him first. It was a suffocating miasma of unwashed bodies, stale cigarette smoke, rotting food, and the sharp, acidic stench of urine. It was the smell of absolute despair. The inside was a chaotic landscape of filth and squalor. Every surface was covered in trash, fast food wrappers, overflowing ashtrays, dirty clothes. A greasy film coated the small kitchenette, where dishes with crusted food sat piled in the sink. The floor was sticky under his boots. And then he saw the children. 2 small faces peered at him from a makeshift nest of dirty blankets on the floor in the back. One was a boy, maybe 3 years old, with wide, frightened eyes and a smudge of what looked like chocolate on his cheek. The other was a younger boy, barely a toddler, who was sucking his thumb with a vacant expression. They were silent, unnervingly so. Children their age should have been crying, or curious, or calling for their mother. These 2 were just watching, like tiny, seasoned observers of a long-running disaster. "Hey there, guys," Turner said, forcing a gentle tone. "I'm a police officer. Are you 2 okay?" The older boy just stared. The younger one didn't even seem to register his presence. Turner's heart, already heavy, sank further. He noted a rash on the toddler's neck and the dirt caked under the older boy's fingernails. A half-empty bag of potato chips lay between them, their dinner. He did a slow, careful sweep of the small space. A hunting rifle was propped in a corner, easily within reach. On the passenger seat, he found a pair of police-grade handcuffs and a set of keys. His eyebrows shot up. That was a red flag the size of Texas. In the cramped bathroom, the door was splintered around the lock, as if it had been forced open or forced shut repeatedly. The toilet was filthy, the shower stall filled with bags of trash. This wasn't just a messy home, it was a cage, a prison on wheels. Turner backed out, taking a deep breath of the comparatively fresh, gasoline-tinged air. He felt a desperate urge to get those 2 little boys out of there, to scrub the filth and the silence off them. He relayed his findings to Mendez, his voice low and tight. "Marcus, it's bad in there, real bad. Place is a biohazard, and there are 2 other kids inside. They look stunned, neglected. Also found a rifle and a pair of handcuffs." Mendez's face hardened. "All right, stay with them. Don't let the parents near the RV. We're holding it." The arrival of Sergeant Wilcox, a barrel-chested veteran with a calm demeanor that could soothe rattlesnakes, shifted the dynamic. He listened to Mendez's and Turner's reports, his expression growing darker with each detail. The bruises, the homemade cast, the state of the RV, the father's aggression, the other children. It was a textbook case of catastrophic child abuse. "Lock it all down," Wilcox ordered. "Nobody leaves. This whole damn gas station is a crime scene now. I'll call the lieutenant and get detectives on the way. The decision was made. The thin veil of a medical emergency was stripped away, revealing the ugly skeleton of a criminal investigation beneath. The RV was no longer a home. It was evidence. A tin can coffin that held the secrets of a family's complete and utter destruction. And the two silent boys in the back were the last surviving witnesses. Chapter 5. The Standoff. The news that they were being detained landed on Christopher Palmer like a lit match on a gas spill. The frantic energy curdled into a dark, simmering rage. His world, already shrinking, was now a 10-foot patch of asphalt between a police cruiser and the RV he was forbidden to enter. "What do you mean we can't go?" he demanded, stepping up to Sergeant Wilcox. "My son is in the hospital. He needs me." "We understand this is a traumatic experience, sir," Wilcox said, his voice a placid sea against Christopher's storm. "And we will get you to the hospital as soon as we can. But right now, we have procedures we have to follow. We just need you to bear with us." "Procedures? Bullshit. This is bullshit." Christopher's gaze swept over the officers, his eyes narrowed with suspicion. The paranoia, fueled by meth and a guilty conscience, was taking over. He saw them not as helpers, but as accusers. The jury was already in his head, and they had found him guilty. He turned to Shelley, who was huddled near the RV door, a wraith in the harsh light. "You see this? They're trying to pin this on me. On us." Shelley just shook her head, her eyes wide with a terror that seemed to have no bottom. "I don't know, Chris." "What don't you know?" he snarled. "You were asleep. I told them you were asleep." He began to pace again, a restless, kinetic ball of fury. He'd glance at the RV, then at the police, then up at the indifferent, smiling beaver on the Bucky sign. He was a prisoner in the brightest, most cheerful-looking prison on earth. "I can't even fucking pee in my own house," he muttered, loud enough for the officers to hear. "I'm a hostage." "You're not a hostage, sir," Officer Turner said, trying to de-escalate. "The fuck I ain't. I'm here against my will. Are we under arrest?" He bellowed at Wilcox. "You are not under arrest," the sergeant replied patiently. "Then we can leave, right?" It was a trap, and he knew it. Not right now. "Then I'm under arrest!" he screamed, his voice cracking. The twisted logic was a hallmark of the meth-addled brain Mendez had seen 100 times before. A world where everything was a conspiracy, and they were the perpetual victim. Minutes stretched into an hour. Wilcox was on the phone, getting updates from the hospital, coordinating with the incoming detectives. The news was grim. Cody was alive, but he was in the operating room. They were doing scans. The word injury was used repeatedly. Wilcox tried to relay the information to Christopher in the calmest terms possible. "He's alive, Christopher. He has a heartbeat. They're doing everything they can. You did what a dad is supposed to do. You got him help." The words were meant to be a balm, but they were salt in a wound. "I know what I did," Christopher cried, tears of frustration and self-pity streaking through the grime on his face. "I did CPR. I heard him. I heard his ribs crack. I was pushing so hard. He was building his defense, trying out his story on them. See how hard I tried? See how much I cared?" But the officers had seen the baby. They had seen the RV. They were not buying it. The standoff reached its breaking point with 4 quiet words. As another patrol car pulled in, its lights adding to the psychedelic glare, Christopher stopped his pacing. He looked directly at Mendez, his eyes suddenly cold and flat. "Just shoot me, guys," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Just fucking shoot me." The air crackled. The statement, whether a cry for help or a threat, could not be ignored. Mendez saw Wilcox's subtle hand signal. The game had changed. This man had just introduced the idea of a gunfight into a crowded gas station. He was a danger to himself, to the public, and to the officers. Wilcox got on his radio, his voice low. "He just told us we're going to have to shoot him. I've confirmed with the mother there are firearms in the vehicle." The plan was formed in seconds, a quiet consensus among the officers. They had to get him out of there. The ruse was simple. Wilcox would offer him a ride to the hospital. Alone. Separate him from his family, from his RV. Get him into a controlled environment. "Hey, boss man," Wilcox said, approaching Christopher with a placid smile. "You ready to go? I'm going to take you up there myself. My car's faster. Your baby needs a parent there to give consent for treatment. Christopher's eyes narrowed, suspicion warring with a desperate need to believe. What about them? He asked, gesturing to Shelley and the unseen children. I can only take one at a time, Wilcox said smoothly. Let's go. It's important. But the paranoia won. No, all of us, or none of us. Tell your people to get the fuck here. The ruse had failed. The detectives were pulling in now, their unmarked sedan cutting through the sea of blue and red lights. The time for talking was over. Wilcox gave a sharp, almost imperceptible nod to Mendez and 2 other officers. It was time to take the monster off the stage. Part 2. The Unraveling. Chapter 6. The Cuffs. The takedown was swift and brutally efficient. There was no shouted warning, no final plea. One moment, Christopher Palmer was squaring off with the detective who had just arrived. The next, 3 officers, Mendez among them, converged on him in a blur of motion. Police, you're under arrest. Put your hands behind your back. Christopher let out a roar of indignant rage as hands grabbed his arms, twisting them behind him. He was strong, with the dense, low-centered strength of a bulldog, and he fought with a wild, desperate energy. I didn't do nothing, he screamed, his body bucking and thrashing. Get off me! Stop resisting, sir. Mendez grunted, struggling to control a flailing arm. The slickness of sweat made it difficult to get a firm grip. From the doorway of the RV, Shelley watched, her hand flying to her mouth. Her face was a canvas of conflicting emotions. Terror, confusion, and a flicker of something that looked disturbingly like relief. The 2 older boys, drawn by the commotion, now stood behind her, their small faces pale and wide-eyed in the flashing lights. Please don't, man, Christopher pleaded, his rage momentarily replaced by a theatrical whimper. Don't make this harder than it is. Then stop fighting us, the detective said. His knee pressed firmly into Christopher's back as they forced him onto the hood of a patrol car. The metallic click of the handcuffs snapping shut echoed in the night. The fight seemed to drain out of Christopher all at once, his body going limp against the car. Why am I under arrest? He asked, his voice now sullen. Please tell me why. You're being detained for investigative purposes, Wilcox said, his voice calm but firm. There is evidence of abuse and neglect on that child. We have enough to hold you while we figure this out. The words hung in the air. Abuse. Neglect. Christopher's head snapped up. He wasn't looking at the cops. He was looking at Shelley. His eyes burned with a furious, accusatory fire. And then Shelley said the words that would ignite the final explosion. They said you did it, she whispered, her voice barely audible, but in the tense quiet, it was as loud as a gunshot. It was not an accusation, but a statement of fact, a relay of information. This is what they are saying. To Christopher, it was the ultimate betrayal. Who said I did it? He bellowed, straining against the cuffs. Who? Did what? Yeah, man, you want a fucking show? I beat the shit out of him to fucking wake him up. He threw his head back and laughed. A horrifying, broken sound. I beat the fuck out of him. There. You happy? He was playing to an imaginary audience, to the cameras, to the cops, to her. It was a confession wrapped in a sneer, a truth told as a lie. Shelley flinched as if he had struck her. Go fuck ahead, he spat, his eyes locking on hers. Believe them, but I did not do it. Why would I hurt my son? The question was absurd, a mockery of the scene they were all witnessing. The officers began to lead him towards a transport van, his vitriol now turning on them, on the world, on God himself. I feel like I'm going to get really angry, man, he shouted, his voice echoing across the sprawling gas station lot. And I don't care about consequences when I'm doing it. He bucked again as they tried to get him into the van. You guys are going to have to hurt me, man. No one's beating your ass? Dude, please, I need it. I need it right now. He was a man coming apart at the seams, the carefully constructed persona of the concerned father disintegrating to reveal the raging, violent core beneath. He was begging for a beating, for a punishment that would, in his twisted mind, somehow absolve him or at least provide a distraction from the real crime. Mendez watched, his face a stony mask. He had seen this 100 times, the violent, theatrical meltdown of a guilty man trying to rewrite the narrative in real time, to become the victim instead of the perpetrator. As they finally forced him into the van, Christopher had one last thing to say. He pressed his face against the wire mesh of the window, his eyes finding Shelley one last time. "You believe I did it too, don't you?" he screamed, his voice muffled by the steel. "Look at me. I did not hurt my fucking son like that, I swear to God." The van door slammed shut, cutting him off. A profound silence descended on the scene, broken only by the hum of the lights and the distant rumble of the highway. Shelley stood frozen, the ghost in the neon glow. The storm had passed, leaving her in the wreckage. But she knew, with the chilling certainty of a long-time victim, that the real storm, the one that had been raging inside the walls of their RV for months, was only just beginning to come to light. The cuffs were on him, but in a way, she had never been more of a prisoner. Chapter 7. Shelley's Silence. The Warner Robins Police Department was a low brick building that smelled of stale coffee and industrial strength cleaner. To Shelley Rooks, it felt as cold and imposing as a tomb. They had taken her other 2 sons, whisking them away with a kind-faced woman from Child Services who promised they would be safe. Shelley had watched them go without a word, a hollow ache in her chest where a mother's protest should have been. Now she sat in a small, windowless room, a cup of lukewarm water untouched on the table in front of her. The silence was a physical presence. After months, maybe years, of living in the constant storm of Christopher's voice, his rages, his demands, his paranoid whispers, the quiet was deafening. The door opened, and a woman came in. She was older, with short, practical gray hair and a face that was neither kind nor unkind, but simply patient. She introduced herself as Detective Miller. "Shelley," she began, her voice calm and even. "I want to talk to you about what happened tonight, and what happened to Cody." Shelley stared at the table. Her world had been reduced to the condensation ring her cup was making on the gray laminate. "I was sleeping," she said, the words a rote recitation. "Chris was giving him a bath. He dropped him." "Okay," Miller said, pulling out a notepad but not writing anything yet. "Let's talk about Cody's leg, the one in the cast. The doctors are saying it's a very serious fracture. They said it's called a bucket handle fracture. It's an injury they see when a child has been shaken violently or swung by their leg." Shelley's head remained bowed. "His brother jumped on him. In the playpen. He's just a toddler. He doesn't know any better." "So a toddler who weighs maybe 25 pounds jumped on an 8-month-old and caused a severe spiral fracture of the femur?" Miller's tone was neutral, but the question was a surgical strike. "And then, instead of taking him to a doctor, you and Chris decided to make a cast out of cardboard and duct tape?" A single tear traced a path through the grime on Shelley's cheek. "We didn't have no money for a hospital," Chris said. "He said they'd just take the kids away if we went." There it is, Miller thought. The first crack in the wall. Control. Why would they take the kids away, Shelley? If it was just an accident? Shelley shook her head, a tiny, frantic motion. "I don't know. He knows things. He's smart." Miller decided to change tactics. "I saw the inside of your RV, Shelley. It's in a pretty rough state. It must be hard living like that, moving all the time, never having a place to call your own." For the first time, Shelley looked up. Her pale blue eyes were filled with a weariness that went beyond a single night of terror. It was the exhaustion of a soul. "We had to fight every day," she whispered, "holding a sign on the corner just to get gas money or for food. Every time we'd drive past a real house with a yard and a swing set, I'd tell him, 'I wish we could stop, Chris. I wish we could have a life like that. A normal life.' What did he say? He'd say we couldn't, that it was better to keep moving, that people were after him, that they'd try to hurt him. Why would people try to hurt him?" Shelley's eyes dropped back to the table. "Because of his past, the charges." Miller knew about the charges. She'd read Christopher Palmer's rap sheet: family violence, assault, and the big one, a sex offense against 2 children in New York that had landed him on the registry. "Tell me about the handcuffs we found, Shelley." Shelley flinched. She began picking at a loose thread on her jeans. "They're for play," she mumbled. "Is that what he used them for?" Miller asked softly. "To play?" Shelley was silent. The silence stretched, filling the small room. It was no longer a void. It was a solid thing, heavy with unspoken truths. Miller waited. She was good at waiting. She knew that for someone like Shelley, the truth had been buried under so many layers of fear and survival that it couldn't be forced. It had to be coaxed out, gently, into the light. Finally, Shelley spoke, her voice so quiet Miller had to lean forward to hear. "He'd put them on me," she breathed, "so I couldn't leave." The wall had crumbled. Detective Miller picked up her pen. The real interview was about to begin. Chapter 8. A History of Violence. She met him when she was 19, a lifetime ago. Shelley had been working at a diner in Florida, living in a small apartment her father co-signed for, and dreaming of a life that was bigger than taking orders and refilling coffee cups. He came in one afternoon, a force of nature. He was older, 40, but he had a charisma that was like a high-voltage current. He looked at her not like a waitress, but like a treasure he had just discovered. He told her she was beautiful. He told her she was special. No one had ever told her that before. Her father, a stern, quiet man, had hated him on sight. "He's a predator, Shelley, can't you see it in his eyes?" But she couldn't. All she saw was a man who promised her an escape, an adventure. He had an RV. He told her they could see the country. No more greasy spoons, no more rent, just the open road. Freedom. The first year was a blur of highways and campgrounds. It was exciting, but slowly the adventure began to feel like an imprisonment. His moods were mercurial. The charming, attentive man would disappear for days, replaced by a sullen, paranoid tyrant who would accuse her of looking at other men, of wanting to leave him. He took control of her disability checks, money she got for a learning disorder she never fully understood, telling her he could manage it better. Then came the first baby, a boy. They named him Daniel. His presence softened Christopher for a while, but the road was no place for a newborn. They were in a cramped, cluttered space, always moving, always broke. The stress mounted. Daniel was 2 months old when he died. They had been staying in her father's yard in Georgia. She'd fallen asleep with the baby in the bed between her and Christopher. When Christopher woke up, the baby was blue, unresponsive. At the hospital, the doctor said the baby had suffocated, likely while feeding. They ruled it SIDS, a tragedy without a villain. But her parents knew. They blamed Christopher. "Something's wrong with that man," her mother had wept. "He did something." But there was no proof, just a terrible suspicion that settled like a permanent winter in their hearts. Shelley was shattered. Christopher, surprisingly, was her rock. He held her while she cried. He told her it wasn't her fault. He told her they would get through it together. He pulled her closer than ever, isolating her from the accusing eyes of her family. They got back on the road. The next 2 boys came quickly, but with each child, the space in the RV seemed to shrink, and Christopher's paranoia seemed to grow. He started using meth more regularly. The drug transformed him, sharpening the edges of his jealousy and rage into razor points. He would stay up for days, cleaning his guns, staring out the window, convinced that police or old enemies were closing in. He began locking her in the bathroom when he'd go out for supplies. He started using the handcuffs. At first it was a game, as he called it, but the game became a ritual of control. He'd cuff her hands behind her back and leave her for hours. The worst was the meth. He told her it would enhance them, make them closer. She refused. So one night, he held her down. He told her to be quiet, not to wake the children. He used a credit card to crush the crystals into a fine powder and, despite her tears and pleas, forced the drug into her. It burned. The violation was more profound than any beating. He had invaded her not just from the outside, but from the inside. She had tried to leave. Once, she'd packed a small bag for herself and the boys while he was asleep. She was halfway out the door when he grabbed her. The beating that followed was methodical and cold. He never hit her face. "No one needs to see our business," he'd said. After that, she stopped trying. The RV was no longer a vehicle of freedom. It was her whole world, a rolling prison cell with her children as fellow inmates and Christopher as the warden. The fear was a constant companion, a low hum beneath the surface of every moment. It wasn't the fear of being hit that paralyzed her. It was the fear of what he would do to her children if she ever truly defied him. He had told her, in a moment of cold clarity, "If I can't have them, no one can." She believed him. So she learned to be silent. She learned to be invisible. She learned to tell the stories he wanted her to tell. His brother jumped on him. He fell in the bath. The lies were his shield, flimsy and inadequate, but the only one she had. Until tonight. Tonight, the shield had shattered. Chapter 9. The Devil's Confession. In another interrogation room, down a different sterile hallway, Christopher Palmer was performing. He had calmed down considerably since his arrest. The wild-eyed rage was gone, replaced by a mask of weary, misunderstood grief. He leaned forward, his elbows on the table, his cuffed hands clasped together, as if in prayer. The detective across from him was a man named Richards, a big, imposing figure with a shaved head and a no-nonsense demeanor. He wasn't buying a word of it. "So, walk me through it again, Chris," Richards said, his voice a low rumble. "From the beginning. What happened in the RV?" Christopher sighed, a deep, sorrowful sound. "I was just trying to be a good dad, you know. The kids were all dirty. Shelley was exhausted, asleep. So I decided to give them a bath. I bathed the 2 older boys in the tub. No problem. Then it was Cody's turn." He paused, squeezing his eyes shut as if reliving a great trauma. "The sink was full of dishes. I had to clear it out. I'm holding Cody with one hand, my arm around his belly, and cleaning out the sink with the other. I turn on the water to rinse a few things, and he jerked. I don't know why. He just jerked hard." His voice dropped to a choked whisper. "He slipped. I went to swoop down and catch him, but I couldn't get a grip. His head hit the side of the sink. Hard. The left side." "And then what?" Richards asked, his face unreadable. "I panicked," Christopher said, his voice rising again. "I yelled for Shelley. Get up, get up!" She finally woke up, and I'm there. And Cody, he's not breathing. He's just limp." He looked up at Richards, his eyes pleading. "So I did what anyone would do. I started CPR. I know CPR. I pushed on his chest. I breathed into his mouth, but the air wouldn't go in. It felt like it hit a wall. I thought he was choking. So I flipped him over, did the Heimlich. Nothing came out. I kept doing CPR, pushing harder and harder. That's when the blood came out, and some yellow stuff." It was a detailed story, practiced, but it was full of holes. "The doctors at the hospital, Chris," Richard said, leaning forward. "They're finding a lot of injuries that don't match up with a fall in a sink." "Like what?" Christopher asked, his brow furrowed in a pantomime of confusion. "Like the bruises on his forehead. They look like fingertip marks, like someone grabbed his head and squeezed." Christopher shook his head. No, that must have been from his brother, the 2-year-old. He's jealous of the baby. Always hitting him with toys, bopping him on the head." "Okay," Richard said, his voice dangerously soft. "What about the marks on his feet? The doctors are saying they look like burns." "Burns? No way. I don't know anything about that." "What about his broken leg, Chris? The 2-week-old break that you tried to set yourself with cardboard?" "I told you, the brother jumped on him." Christopher's voice was rising, the mask of grief beginning to crack. "We didn't have money for a doctor. I was trying to take care of it, to be a good father." Richard sat back, letting the silence hang in the air. He had him. The story was a sieve, and the truth was pouring out through the holes. A jealous toddler, a slip in the sink, a lack of money. Each excuse was weaker than the last. "We also have a witness, Chris," Richard said quietly. "A little boy who says he saw what happened." Christopher froze. "What? What witness?" "The kids were in the back. He says, and I quote, 'My daddy whooped him.'" The blood drained from Christopher's face. The mask didn't just crack. It shattered into 1,000 pieces. The grief was gone. The confusion was gone. All that was left was the cold, flat-eyed stare of a cornered predator. "The kid's a liar," he hissed. "He doesn't know what he's talking about." But Richards knew he did. He had heard the devil's confession, not in the lies he told, but in the truths he so desperately tried to hide. The performance was over. Chapter 10. The Unspeakable Truth. "He used meth, Shelley?" Detective Miller asked, her voice gentle. "Christopher used it?" Shelley nodded, her gaze fixed on a spot on the floor. It was as if a dam inside her had broken. The stories, the secrets, the horrors she had kept locked away for so long were now spilling out in a torrent of whispered, fragmented sentences. "It used to be every so often," she said, "but lately it's been every day. It made him mean, paranoid." "Did you use it?" Shelley's head snapped up, her eyes flashing with a pain that was fresh and raw. Not willingly, she choked out. He put it in me. Twice. Recently. He said it would be better for us. He held me down. It burned. Miller wrote it down, her face impassive, but her mind recoiling. This went beyond domestic abuse. This was torture. Shelley, I need you to be honest with me, Miller said, her voice firm but not unkind. What did Christopher do to Cody? The question hung in the air. This was the precipice. Shelley could retreat back into the familiar lies, or she could take the terrifying step into the truth. She took a shuddering breath. He would get so angry, she began. When the baby would cry, he couldn't stand it. He'd say, "Shut him up, Shelley. Make him stop." How would he make him stop? He'd flick him, she whispered, demonstrating the motion with her thumb and forefinger. Hard, on his head. He'd say he was just playing, but it would leave marks, little bruises. Miller's blood ran cold. The fingertip bruises. It wasn't a claw grip. It was a repeated, sadistic flicking, the act of a tormentor, not a parent. And the night of the accident? Miller pressed gently. You said you were asleep. Shelley's face crumpled. The lie finally gave way under the weight of her conscience. No, she wept, the sound a ragged tearing. I wasn't. I was pretending. I was afraid. What happened, Shelley? You have to tell me. He was crying, she said, her voice barely audible. Cody was crying and crying. Chris was high. His eyes were crazy. He took the baby into the front of the RV, to the sink. He said he was going to give him a bath, but he was yelling. He yelled, "I'll give you something to cry about." She squeezed her eyes shut, as if she could block out the memory. Then I heard it. A thud. A sickening, wet thud. And then silence. The crying stopped. The yelling stopped. It was just quiet. She opened her eyes, and they were filled with a terrible, self-loathing clarity. He came back to the bedroom area. He said, "Shelley, get up. There was an accident." He fell. But I knew it wasn't an accident. His face, he looked scared. Not sad. Scared. Like he'd finally gone too far. Why didn't you say anything, Shelley? Why didn't you call for help right then? Her answer was the saddest, most honest thing Miller had heard all night. Because he told me not to, she whispered. And I always do what he tells me to do. The full, horrifying picture was finally complete. It wasn't a single act of violence. It was a campaign of terror waged against a helpless infant, culminating in a final, fatal blow. And it had all happened behind a shield of lies, enforced by a culture of fear so profound that a mother had pretended to be asleep while her child was murdered just a few feet away. The unspeakable truth was out, and the silence that followed was filled with the ghost of a baby's last cry. Chapter 11. The Boy Who Saw. The room was painted a cheerful, calming shade of blue. It had a small table, 2 child-sized chairs, and a box of toys in the corner. It was designed to make a child feel safe. The boy sat in one of the chairs, swinging his legs, which didn't quite reach the floor. His name was Liam, and he was 3 years old. He had his mother's pale blue eyes, but they held a watchfulness that no 3-year-old should possess. Across from him sat a woman with a kind smile and a soft voice. Her name was Dr. Evans, and she was a forensic interviewer. Her job was to listen to the stories that children couldn't always find the words for. "Hi, Liam," she said, pushing a toy car across the table. "My name is Sarah. Do you like cars?" Liam nodded, taking the car and rolling it back and forth. "Liam, can you tell me where your baby brother is?" Sarah asked gently. "Hospital," Liam said, sounding out the word carefully. "That's right. Do you know why he's in the hospital?" Liam stopped playing with the car. He looked down at the table. "He's hurt," he said quietly. "Do you know how he got hurt?" The boy was silent for a long moment. He looked up at Sarah, his eyes wide and serious. He leaned forward, as if sharing a secret. "My daddy whooped him," he whispered. The simple, declarative statement landed in the quiet room with the force of a physical blow. "He whooped him?" Sarah repeated, keeping her voice even. "Can you tell me what that means? How did your daddy whoop the baby?" Liam's small face furrowed in concentration, trying to find the right words in his limited vocabulary. He pointed to the floor. "Smacked him," he said. "On the floor." He picked up a soft doll from the toy box. He held it in his hands, and then, with a grave seriousness, He brought the doll down hard against the surface of the table. Thwack, thwack, thwack. The sound was small, but the implication was monstrous. Like that? Sarah asked, her heart aching. Liam nodded solemnly. He put the doll down and picked up the toy car again, as if the conversation were over. The horror had been stated, demonstrated, and now it was time to move on. Dr. Evans knew she had what she needed. The testimony of a 3-year-old, delivered with a chilling matter-of-fact innocence. It was the purest, most damning evidence of all. It was the story of a boy who saw the unthinkable and was now, in a quiet room with a kind stranger, finally telling the truth. He was the only one brave enough to do it. Chapter 12. The Longest Wait. Dr. Alistair Finch had been the head of pediatric critical care at Macon General for 15 years. He had seen every imaginable tragedy that could befall a child. But the small, broken body of Cody Palmer was a case that would haunt his sleep for years to come. The child lay in a crib in the pediatric ICU, a tiny island in a sea of blinking, beeping machines. A ventilator breathed for him, the rhythmic hiss and click the only sign of life in the quiet, sterile room. An array of IV lines snaked into his thin arms, delivering a cocktail of medications to control seizures, reduce swelling in his brain, and manage pain he could no longer consciously feel. Finch studied the latest set of scans on the glowing monitor. The CT images of Cody's head were devastating. A massive subdural hematoma, a bleed on the surface of the brain, was visible, blossoming like a dark flower across the left hemisphere. The force of the impact had been so severe it had caused the brain to swell dangerously, a condition called cerebral edema. They had performed a craniotomy, removing a piece of the skull to give the brain room to expand. But it was a desperate, last-ditch measure. There was more. A scan of the skeleton revealed the femur fracture, a clean, sharp break that spoke of a violent twisting or yanking motion. And then, the final, heartbreaking discovery. Multiple healing rib fractures. Small cracks in the delicate bones of his rib cage, evidence of previous squeezing or impacts. This child hadn't just been injured on one terrible night. He had been living in a state of sustained, escalating torture. Any change in his intracranial pressure? Finch asked the nurse on duty. Still elevated, doctor. And he's had 2 more seizure events in the last hour. Finch sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. They were losing. The machines could keep the body functioning, but the essence of the child, his mind, his potential, his future, had been extinguished in a moment of brutal violence. There was no neurological response, no sign of brainstem activity. The child was, for all intents and purposes, gone. For 5 days, they waited. They maintained the fragile ecosystem of life support, hoping for a miracle they all knew would not come. Detectives came and went, taking statements from the staff. Social workers finalized the placement of the other 2 boys. In the wider world, a legal process was grinding into motion. But here, in this quiet room, time had stopped. It was a vigil for a life that had barely begun. On the 5th day, Dr. Finch convened a meeting with the hospital's ethics committee and the state-appointed guardian for the child. The conclusion was unanimous and unavoidable. There was no hope of recovery. To continue life support would be to merely prolong the function of a body whose spirit had already departed. Later that afternoon, Dr. Finch returned to Cody's bedside. The nurse had placed a small knitted blue cap on his head, covering the bandages from his surgery. It was a small human gesture in the face of overwhelming clinical reality. With a heavy heart, Finch gave the order. One by one, the machines were silenced. The rhythmic hiss of the ventilator ceased. The steady beep of the heart monitor slowed, faltered, and then flatlined into a single, continuous tone. The official time of death was recorded as 4:46 a.m. Dr. Finch stood for a long moment in the profound silence, looking down at the tiny, still face. He felt not just sadness, but a deep, burning anger. A rage at the failure of it all, the failure of a family, of a community, of a system that was supposed to protect its most vulnerable. The longest wait was over. And in the end, there was nothing left but a silence that screamed with injustice. Part 3. The Reckoning. Chapter 13. The Charge. Detective Miller delivered the news to Shelley in the same quiet room where the confession had been given. Shelley, I'm so sorry to have to tell you this. Cody passed away early this morning. Shelley registered the words, but her face remained a blank mask. There were no tears, no cries of grief. It was as if the part of her that could feel such things had already died. She just stared at the wall, her pale eyes seeing something far beyond the cinder blocks and beige paint. She had known, from the moment she saw him lying limp in Christopher's arms under the glare of the Buc-ee's lights, that he was gone. This was just the official notice. The reaction in the men's holding cell was different. When Detective Richards told Christopher Palmer that his son was dead, he exploded. He threw himself against the bars of his cell, his hands grabbing the cold steel, his face contorted in a mask of theatrical fury. "No, no, you're lying," he screamed, his voice echoing through the cell block. "You killed him. You people, with your delays, you didn't let me get to him. This is on you." It was his final, most audacious performance. The grieving father, wronged by a callous system. He raged and wept, cursing the police, the doctors, the world. There was no sign of remorse, no hint of responsibility, only the furious, self-serving anger of a man whose lies had finally run out of road. Richards watched him, his expression one of weary disgust. He didn't engage. He didn't argue. He just let the storm blow itself out. Later that day, the charges were officially upgraded. For Shelley Rooks, second-degree murder, felony aggravated assault, and first-degree cruelty to children. The law held her responsible not for striking the blow, but for failing to prevent it, for allowing her child to live and die in a chamber of horrors. For Christopher Palmer, malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, first-degree cruelty to children, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The charges were a legal litany of his sins, a formal accounting of his monstrosity. When they read him the new charges, Christopher fell silent. The act was over. The wild grief was replaced by a cold, calculating stillness. The reality of his situation had finally penetrated the thick walls of his narcissism. This wasn't a performance he could rage his way out of. This was a life sentence, staring him in the face. He was no longer the director of the show. He was just another inmate in a county-issue jumpsuit, the star of a tragedy he had written himself, with his own son's blood. Chapter 14. The Trial. The trial of Christopher Palmer took place in the November chill, nearly 2 years after Cody's death. The intervening time had done nothing to lessen the horror of the case. It had only allowed the grim details to settle and harden into facts. Christopher sat at the defense table, a changed man. He was heavier, his skin pasty from a lack of Sunday. The volatile energy was gone, replaced by a sullen, bored arrogance. He often smirked during the prosecution's opening statement, shaking his head as if he were listening to a fantastic work of fiction. The prosecution, led by a sharp, relentless district attorney, built their case brick by brick. They put Officer Mendez on the stand, who recounted the chaos and lies of that night at the Buc-ee's. They put the paramedics on the stand, who described Cody's horrific injuries in clinical, devastating detail. They put Dr. Finch on the stand, who explained to the jury the medical impossibility of the father's story, detailing the bucket handle fracture, the healing rib fractures, the catastrophic brain injury. The most powerful testimony came when the prosecution played the videotaped forensic interview with Liam. The courtroom was silent as the small, 3-year-old boy appeared on the screen. When he whispered the words, "My daddy whooped him," and demonstrated by smacking the doll against the table, a collective gasp went through the gallery. Several jurors wiped away tears. Christopher Palmer stared at the screen, his face a mask of stone. The defense was weak, pathetic. They tried to paint Christopher as a loving, if inept father, overwhelmed by poverty and the stress of life on the road. They argued that the injuries were all accidental, a tragic cascade of misfortune. They tried to discredit Shelley, who did not testify, painting her as an unreliable, mentally unstable woman. They even tried to suggest that she, or the toddler, might have been responsible for the fatal injury. But the evidence was a mountain, and the defense was trying to chip away at it with a teaspoon. The photos of Cody's bruised body, the pictures of the squalid RV, the damning words of his own son. The jury was out for only 90 minutes. It was barely enough time to have a cup of coffee and sign the paperwork. When they filed back in, their faces were grim and resolved. The court clerk read the verdict, his voice steady and clear. On the charge of malice murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. On the charge of felony murder, guilty. On the charge of aggravated assault, guilty. On and on it went, a drumbeat of condemnation. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Christopher Palmer did not react. He just stared straight ahead, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on his lips. At the sentencing, the judge looked down at him with an expression of profound contempt. "You are the author of a nightmare," the judge said, his voice cold. "You took the life of a helpless child who was dependent on you for love and protection, and you gave him only pain and terror. You are a monster, and you have forfeited your right to ever walk among civilized people again." The sentence was life in prison plus 10 years, with no possibility of parole. A life for a life. As they led him away in handcuffs for the last time, Christopher Palmer looked back at the courtroom, at the faces of the people who had judged him, and he smiled. Chapter 15. Echoes. Years later, Marcus Mendez still thought about that night at the Buc-ee's. It was a scar on his memory, a permanent stain. He'd seen a lot of bad things in his career, but the image of that tiny, broken baby in the lumpy, homemade cast was one he could never shake. Sometimes, when he was tucking his own daughters into bed, he'd see Cody Palmer's face, and he'd have to stand in the hallway for a moment, just breathing, pushing the darkness back. He'd followed the case, of course. He knew Christopher Palmer would die in a cage, where he belonged. He also knew what had happened to Shelley Rooks. After a series of psychiatric evaluations, she had been deemed incompetent to stand trial. Her mind, already fragile, had been completely shattered by the trauma she had endured and the horror she had passively witnessed. She was a ghost now, living in a state-run facility, the final victim of Christopher's reign of terror. And the boys, Liam and his younger brother, were together in a foster home that had become a permanent adoption. Mendez had heard they were doing well. They were in school, they were safe, they were loved. He hoped, with every fiber of his being, that they were young enough that the memories would fade, that the horrors they had witnessed would become little more than a dark, indistinct blur at the edge of their childhood. He hoped they would remember none of it. Sometimes, when he drove down I-75, he'd pass the exit for that Buc-ee's. The sign, with its cheerful, buck-toothed beaver, still glowed against the night sky, a beacon of clean restrooms and fresh brisket. But to Mendez, it was a tombstone, a monument to a life that never had a chance. He never. Part 1. The Call. Chapter 1. The Glow. The Buc-ee's gas station did not rise out of the black Georgia night. It punched a hole in it. It was a wound of light, a ferocious, 24-hour sun that bled out across the interstate, chasing the shadows back into the pine forests that lined the highway. Under its canopy, 100 gas pumps stood like silent, numbered soldiers, the air humming with their electronic hearts and shimmering with the fumes of 1,000 gallons of gasoline. It was a cathedral of convenience, a monument to the restless American soul, a place that smelled of slow-cooked brisket, fresh-baked fudge, and the faint underlying desperation of the road. Inside, under the benevolent, buck-toothed gaze of the beaver mascot, families on vacation laughed, truckers loaded up on coffee, and the weary rhythms of travel played out in a cavernous, brightly lit space. Outside, under the relentless, buzzing hum of the fluorescent firmament, a different world was imploding. The first scream was not human. It was the sound of a soul being flayed, a raw, serrated shriek that sliced through the drone of idling engines and the cheerful muzak leaking from the store's speakers. It wasn't a child's tantrum or a teenager's shriek of laughter. It was the sound of the absolute end of things, a woman's voice shredded by a terror too profound for mere words. Shelley Rooks was a ghost bathed in neon. Her frame was so slight it seemed the mild January breeze, heavy with the promise of a distant rain, might scoop her up and carry her away into the darkness beyond the light. Her hair, the color of dirty straw, clung to a face that was all sharp angles and hollows, a topography of hunger and fear. But it was her eyes that held the true horror-wide, vacant pools of a blue so pale it was almost white, reflecting the sterile, unforgiving lights above. In her arms, she cradled a small, limp bundle, a thing of terrible stillness, He's not breathing. Oh my God, please, somebody help me. He's not breathing. Her cries, ragged and broken, drew a small constellation of onlookers. A trucker in a grease-stained hat, his face a road map of 1,000,000 miles, paused on his way to the restroom, his hand hovering over the door handle. A mother in a minivan, her own toddler strapped securely into a car seat, stared with a hand over her mouth, a sudden cold fear for her own child gripping her heart. They saw the skeletal woman. They saw the tiny, motionless form in her arms, and a collective, helpless paralysis took hold. They were witnesses, but they were not saviors. Then, a man erupted from a battered, sun-faded RV parked near the edge of the lot, a place where the light of Buc-ee's began to lose its battle with the night. He was the opposite of Shelley in every way, a storm of frantic, violent energy where she was a vacuum of despair. Christopher Palmer was built like a fire hydrant, thick and solid, with a shaved head that gleamed under the lights like a polished stone. Tattoos, intricate and menacing, snaked up his neck and disappeared beneath a grimy t-shirt that stretched tight across his barrel chest. "What the fuck are you doing?" he roared, his voice a gravelly bark that made people flinch and take a step back. He wasn't looking at the onlookers, at the frozen tableau of horrified strangers. His fury, white hot and absolute, was aimed squarely at Shelley. "Get back in the car! You're making a scene!" He grabbed her arm, his thick, powerful fingers digging into her thin bicep, bruising the pale flesh. But for the first time in a long time, she resisted. A flicker of something primal and fierce, a mother's instinct perhaps, or the last dying ember of a will he had systematically tried to extinguish, made her wrench away from him. "He's not breathing, Chris. I told you," she shrieked back, her voice cracking. "I told you something was wrong." Christopher's face contorted, a mask of rage and something else, something colder, fear. It was a wild, cornered animal fear, the terror of a man whose carefully constructed world of lies was about to be torn apart. He snatched the baby from her arms with a brutal swiftness. The infant's head lolled back with an unnatural looseness, a tiny, pale face under the unforgiving lights, the mouth slightly agape. Christopher turned the baby over, his movements clumsy and violent. He smacked the infant's back with the heel of his hand, the dull, wet thud sickeningly loud in the sudden, ringing quiet. "Wake up! Fucking wake up, you little shit!" he bellowed, shaking the tiny body with a force that seemed designed to break it, not revive it. Inside the store, a night shift manager named Brenda, a woman in her late 50s, whose placid expression had been hardened by years of dealing with drifters, drunks, and the endless parade of highway ghosts, was already on the phone with 911. Her voice was steady, her report concise. "Yes, ma'am. Buc-ee's on I-75, Peach County. There's a man. He's screaming at a baby. No, the baby's not moving. He's shaking it. Please, you need to get someone here now. He looks like he's going to kill someone." The call went out, a crackle of urgency over the county's emergency radio frequency. A non-responsive infant at the Buc-ee's. It was a call that always tightened the chests of the first responders who heard it, a call that promised a journey into the heart of a darkness no amount of training could ever fully prepare them for. In the grim geography of emergency calls, a child down was the darkest territory of all. For Christopher Palmer, the world had narrowed to this single, blindingly lit stage. The gawking, judgmental faces of the strangers, the approaching wail of sirens, the limp, accusing weight in his hands, it was all closing in, a tightening vice of consequence. He looked down at the child, his son, and saw not a life to be saved, but an accusation to be silenced. A tiny, silent witness to a universe of horrors contained within the thin, filthy metal walls of their rolling home. He flipped the baby over again, his thumb pressing hard and deep into the infant's chest. A crude, desperate pantomime of CPR. "I'm trying to save him!" he screamed, his voice aimed at the unblinking, indifferent eye of the security camera mounted above pump 17. "I'm trying to save my son!" But Shelley knew. As she watched the man she both feared and followed, the man who was both her captor and her protector, she knew. This wasn't a rescue, it was a performance. And the show, for the benefit of the cameras and the coming police, was just beginning. Chapter 2. Officer Mendez. Officer Marcus Mendez guided his patrol car, number 314, through the sparse late-night traffic on I-75, the Buc-ee's sign a distant, cheerful beacon in the inky blackness. He was 42, a man who had found a comfortable, if weary, balance between the idealism that had led him to the badge and the cynicism that 15 years on the job had tried to beat into him. He wore a neatly trimmed mustache that was starting to show threads of gray, a concession to a vanity his wife teased him about, and had eyes that had seen too much to be surprised by anything, yet held a stubborn refusal to become completely cynical. He was a father of 2 girls, 8 and 12, and calls involving children always felt like a personal affront, a tear in the very fabric of the world he was sworn to protect, a world he wanted to believe was safe for his own kids. The dispatch crackled with an update, the dispatcher's voice a strained, urgent monotone. Caller reports father is becoming aggressive, appears to be performing CPR, but is being very rough with the infant. Mendez's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Very rough. The phrase was chillingly vague. He pressed a little harder on the accelerator, the blue and red lights of his bar clearing a path he barely needed. The scene that greeted him as he pulled into the vast, overlit parking lot was one of controlled chaos. 2 paramedics were already there, a shield of calm professionalism around the tiny victim who lay on a gurney between them. One was rhythmically compressing the baby's chest with 2 fingers, a delicate, precise motion that belied the life and death urgency. The other worked an ambu bag, forcing air into lungs that stubbornly refused to accept it. Mendez's eyes did a quick, practiced sweep, absorbing the details, assembling the narrative. The mother, Shelley Rooks, stood a few feet away, wrapped in a stranger's jacket, shivering uncontrollably despite the mildness of the night. She looked like a refugee, displaced not from a country, but from her own life. Then he saw the father. Christopher Palmer was pacing like a caged wolf, his fists clenched, his jaw working silently, grinding his teeth. He was radiating an energy so volatile it was almost visible, a shimmering heat haze of rage and panic. Mendez approached the mother first. It was always the mother first. They were the keepers of the immediate truth, their shock often overriding any instinct to lie. "Ma'am, I'm Officer Mendez. Can you tell me what happened?" Her name came out in a whisper, a puff of air. Shelley Rooks. Her eyes, wide and terrified, darted towards Christopher, a quick, almost imperceptible flick that told Mendez everything he needed to know about the power dynamic at play. He fell. "Okay," Mendez said, keeping his voice low and even, a calm island in her sea of terror. "How did he fall?" Before she could form another word, Christopher was there, inserting himself between them, a physical wall blocking Mendez's view of her. "I was giving him a bath. He slipped. He slipped out of my hands. It was my fault. I'm a fucking fool." The confession was too quick, too loud, too performative. It wasn't the shattered whisper of grief. It was a declarative statement, a story being established for the record. Mendez looked from Christopher's bulging, bloodshot eyes to Shelley's haunted face, now obscured behind her captor's shoulder. The air was thick with lies, so palpable he could almost taste them. "Sir, I need you to step back and let me talk to your wife," Mendez said calmly, using the word deliberately to test the reaction. "She's not my wife," Christopher snapped, his voice sharp and defensive. "And she doesn't know anything. She was asleep. I was the one with him." He pointed a thick, trembling finger at his own chest, a gesture of both ownership and deflection. "It was me." A paramedic glanced up from the gurney, his face grim, his eyes tired. "We've got a pulse, but it's faint. We're transporting now." He looked directly at Mendez, and a silent message passed between them, a grim communion understood by men who traffic in tragedy. "This is bad, real bad. Look closer." Mendez watched as they loaded the gurney into the waiting ambulance. The baby, Cody, was a still life of medical intervention tubes and wires, obscuring a small face that was already blooming with the unnatural, mottled color of deep trauma. There were bruises, dark, ugly smudges on his forehead and a horrifying, deep purple swelling that consumed the entire left side of his head, closing his eye. And then Mendez saw his leg. It was wrapped in a crude, lumpy cast, a grotesque parody of medical care, made of what looked like a dirty ace bandage, strips of a cardboard box, and an obscene amount of silver duct tape. "What's the deal with his leg?" Mendez asked, turning his full attention back to Christopher. "The other kid," Christopher said, his story shifting seamlessly, A well-oiled machine of deception. His brother. He's a year and a half old, a wild man. Jumps in the playpen on him all the time. Landed on his leg a couple weeks ago. Sprained it. Mendez's internal alarm, a finely honed instrument calibrated by 2 decades on the force, was screaming a piercing, silent siren. A sprain? In a cast made of garbage? An infant covered in bruises from head to toe? He shared a look with his partner, a younger officer named Turner, who was quietly taking notes, his face pale. Turner's eyes were wide. Even a rookie with 6 months on the job could see this wasn't right. "Sir, we're going to need you and your family to stay here for a little while," Mendez said, his tone shifting from conversational to the flat, unmistakable timbre of official authority. "We need to figure out exactly what happened." "We're following the ambulance," Christopher declared. "Not a request, but a statement of fact." "No, sir. Not right now. Your RV is now part of an investigation. It's a crime scene." The words hit Christopher like a physical blow. The mask of the grieving, incompetent father dissolved, replaced by the pure, unadulterated fury of a king whose authority had just been challenged. "You can't do this. That's my son. I'm going to the hospital." "My supervisor is on the way," Mendez said, planting his feet, making his body a barrier. He was a wall, and Christopher was the toxic wave that was about to break against it. "Nobody is leaving until he gets here." Christopher's face was inches from his. Mendez could smell the stale sweat, the sour breath, and the faint, unmistakable chemical tang of methamphetamine. It was always meth. It was the ghost in the machine, the fuel for the paranoia, the explosive rage, the whole damn tragic picture. "You're fucking with me now," Christopher hissed, his voice dropping to a menacing whisper that was more threatening than his shouts. Mendez held his gaze, his own face, a mask of calm authority he did not feel. "No, sir. I'm doing my job." He could feel the situation sliding towards a point of no return. This wasn't just an interview anymore. It was a containment. He was standing at the threshold of a terrible place, a rolling house of horrors, and his job was to keep the monster from getting out. Chapter 3. The smallest victim. Inside the rocking, swaying box of the ambulance, paramedic David Chen worked with a focused intensity that was a fortress against the chaos. For 12 years, he had walled off a part of his soul for calls like this, a necessary detachment that allowed him to function. But sometimes, the walls crumbled. Sometimes, the horror was too great, and it found the cracks. Cody Palmer was cracking the walls. The infant was awash in the clinical blue-white light of the ambulance's interior, a merciless light that revealed every terrible detail. His skin was mottled, a patchwork of deathly white and Venus blue, and cool to the touch. The pulse they'd found was thready, a butterfly's wing fluttering against the encroaching void. His partner, Maria, was driving, her knuckles white on the steering wheel, her foot heavy on the gas, her face a grim mask of concentration. "How's he doing back there, Dave?" she called over her shoulder, her voice tight with a tension she rarely showed. "Holding on. Barely," David said, his fingers deftly adjusting the pediatric oxygen mask over the baby's tiny, still face. The child's face was a roadmap of trauma. The bruising on his forehead wasn't a single impact mark. It was a cluster of smaller, distinct, almost circular bruises. David had seen them before, in textbooks and in the ER. They looked like fingerprints. They looked like someone had gripped the baby's head like a claw machine, squeezing with an unimaginable, sadistic force. He ran his gloved hands gently over the infant's body, his touch a silent, horrified inventory of pain. There were bruises on the arms, tiny handprints on the fragile biceps, bruises on the legs. They were in different stages of healing. Some were a sickly, yellowish green, the color of old suffering. Others a deep, angry purple, fresh and furious. This wasn't the result of a single fall. This was a history, a calendar of agony written on the canvas of a child's skin. Then there was the leg. The homemade cast was a mockery of medical care, an insult to the very idea of healing. David took a pair of trauma shears from his kit and carefully cut it away. The smell of stale sweat, urine, and filth was immediate and overpowering. Beneath the grimy, duct-taped bandages, the leg was swollen to twice its normal size and bent at a grotesquely unnatural angle. He didn't have to be a doctor to know it was broken. A bad break, left to fester for who knew how long. He relayed his findings over the radio to the receiving hospital, his voice a clipped, emotionless monotone that was a betrayal of the white-hot fury building in his gut. 8-month-old male, unresponsive on scene. Faint pulse restored via CPR. Extensive bruising to the head, torso, and extremities, all in various stages of healing. Apparent untreated, 2 to 3 week old fracture of the left femur. ETA, 5 minutes. He looked at Cody's face again. The baby's mouth was slack, a little bubble of bloody fluid at the corner. The redness around his lips was raw, chapped, the skin broken. It was the face of a child who had cried until his throat was raw, until he could cry no more. David thought of his own son, Leo, who was 9 months old, tucked safely in his crib at home, his little chest rising and falling with the easy, peaceful rhythm of a life untouched by such darkness. The contrast was of physical pain, a hot poker in his own chest. He felt a surge of pure, primal hatred for the man pacing and performing back at that gas station. The man who called himself this child's father. Dropped him in the bath, he muttered to himself, the words tasting like poison in his mouth. The story was an insult to his intelligence, an insult to this baby's suffering, an insult to humanity itself. A fall in a tub didn't cause old bruises. It didn't cause a 2-week-old broken leg left to rot in a filthy bandage. It didn't cause the pattern of fingertip-shaped marks on a child's forehead. As they pulled into the ambulance bay of the Macon Trauma Center, the hospital team was waiting, a flurry of green scrubs and determined faces under the harsh bay lights. The transfer from the ambulance gurney to the hospital bed was a seamless, urgent ballet. A doctor began barking orders, his voice sharp and clear. Nurses swarmed, attaching monitors, drawing blood, preparing for an immediate CT scan. David stood back, his part in the drama over, his hands feeling empty and useless. He watched as they wheeled Cody through the double doors of the emergency room, a tiny, broken vessel in a sea of sterile efficiency. He knew, with a certainty that chilled him to the bone, that the baby would likely never leave this place alive. He stripped off his latex gloves and threw them in the biohazard bin with more force than necessary. The walls were down. The armor was gone. All that was left was the raw, aching wound of a world that allowed something like this to happen. He walked back to the ambulance. The cheerful, buck-toothed face of the Buc-ee's beaver burned into his memory like a profane icon, a smiling, indifferent witness to the absolute worst of humanity. Chapter 4. The Tin Can Coffin. While Officer Mendez managed the escalating crisis with Christopher Palmer, a human powder keg with a rapidly shortening fuse, Officer Turner was tasked with the preliminary search of the RV. It was a late-model camper, but years of hard travel and a profound, soul-deep neglect had taken their toll. The paint, once a cheerful white with jaunty blue stripes, was peeling and faded, revealing patches of rust-colored decay. The tires were bald, the windows filmed with a layer of road grime so thick it was nearly opaque. It looked less like a home and more like a derelict vessel, a ghost ship washed ashore in a sea of asphalt. Turner pulled on a pair of latex gloves, the snap against his wrist, a small, sharp sound in the tense air. He pushed open the flimsy door. The smell hit him first, a physical assault. It was a suffocating miasma of unwashed bodies, stale cigarette smoke, rotting food, and the sharp, acidic stench of old urine. It was the smell of absolute, suffocating despair. The inside was a chaotic landscape of filth and squalor. Every surface was covered in a layer of trash, greasy fast food wrappers, overflowing ashtrays, wadded-up dirty clothes. A sticky, greasy film coated the small kitchenette, where dishes with crusted fossilized food sat piled in the sink. The floor was tacky under his boots, a collage of spilled soda and ground-in dirt. And then he saw the children. 2 small faces peered at him from a makeshift nest of dirty blankets on the floor in the back of the camper. One was a boy, maybe 3 years old, with wide, frightened eyes and a smudge of what looked like chocolate on his cheek. The other was a younger boy, barely a toddler, who was sucking his thumb with a vacant 1,000-yard stare. They were silent, unnervingly so. Children their age should have been crying from the noise and flashing lights, or babbling with curiosity, or calling for their mother. These 2 were just watching, like tiny, seasoned observers of a long-running disaster, a war they had been born into. "Hey there, guys," Turner said, forcing a gentle, reassuring tone that felt like a lie in his own throat. "I'm a police officer. My name is Matt. Are you two okay?" The older boy just stared, his eyes huge and dark in his pale face. The younger one didn't even seem to register his presence, his thumb-sucking rhythmic and mechanical. Turner's heart, already heavy, sank further into his gut. He noted a raw, red rash on the toddler's neck and the dirt caked black under the older boy's fingernails. A half-empty, crumpled bag of potato chips lay between them on the filthy blanket. It was likely their dinner. He did a slow, careful sweep of the small, claustrophobic space. A hunting rifle was propped in a corner, easily within reach of anyone, including a curious child. On the passenger seat, he found a pair of police-grade handcuffs and a set of keys lying next to a stack of greasy road maps. His eyebrows shot up. That was a red flag the size of Texas. In the cramped bathroom, the door was splintered and damaged around the lock, as if it had been repeatedly forced open, or, more chillingly, forced shut. The toilet was filthy, a brown ring staining the bowl. The tiny shower stall was not used for bathing. It was filled to the brim with overflowing bags of trash. This wasn't just a messy home, it was a cage. A prison on wheels? Turner backed out, taking a deep breath of the comparatively fresh, gasoline-tinged night air. The stench of the RV clung to his uniform. He felt a desperate, visceral urge to get those two little boys out of there, to scrub the filth and the silence and the haunted look in their eyes right off of them. He walked over to Mendez, keeping his voice low and tight. "Marcus, it's bad in there. Real bad. Place is a biohazard. And there are 2 other kids inside. They look stunned, neglected. They haven't made a sound. Also found a rifle propped in the corner and a pair of handcuffs on the front seat." Mendez's face, already grim, hardened into granite. "All right, stay with them. Don't let the parents near that RV. We're holding it." The arrival of Sergeant Wilcox, a barrel-chested veteran with a calm, authoritative demeanor that could soothe rattlesnakes, shifted the dynamic. He listened to Mendez's and Turner's reports, his expression growing darker with each damning detail. The bruises, the homemade cast, the state of the RV, the father's explosive aggression, the other silent children. It wasn't just a collection of red flags. It was a textbook case of catastrophic, chronic child abuse. "Lock it all down," Wilcox ordered, his voice leaving no room for argument. "Nobody leaves. This whole damn gas station is a crime scene now. I'll call the lieutenant and get detectives on the way." The decision was made. The thin, flimsy veil of a medical emergency was stripped away, revealing the ugly, skeletal truth of a criminal investigation beneath. The RV was no longer a home, however wretched. It was evidence, a tin-can coffin that held the secrets of a family's complete and utter destruction. And the 2 silent, watching boys in the back were the last surviving witnesses. Chapter 5. The Standoff. The news that they were being detained, that their rolling prison was now police property, landed on Christopher Palmer like a lit match on a gas spill. The frantic performative energy of the grieving father curdled instantly into a dark, simmering rage. His world, already shrinking to the size of a gas station parking space, was now a 10-foot patch of asphalt between a police cruiser and the RV he was forbidden to enter. "What do you mean we can't go?" he demanded, stepping right up to Sergeant Wilcox, invading his personal space, a classic intimidation tactic. "My son is in the hospital. He needs me. He needs his father." "We understand this is a traumatic experience, sir," Wilcox said, his voice a placid sea against Christopher's storm. He didn't take a step back. "And we will get you to the hospital as soon as we can. But right now, we have procedures we have to follow. There's been a serious injury to a child. We have to investigate. We just need you to bear with us." "Procedures? Bullshit. This is bullshit." Christopher's gaze swept over the assembled officers, his eyes narrowed with a wild, hunted suspicion. The paranoia, fueled by years of meth use and a profoundly guilty conscience, was taking over. He saw them not as helpers, but as accusers. The jury was already convened in his head, and they had already found him guilty. He spun around and pointed a trembling finger at Shelley, who was huddled near the RV door, a wraith in the harsh, flashing lights. "You see this? They're trying to pin this on me, on us, because we're homeless, because we live in a fucking camper." Shelley just shook her head, a tiny, almost spastic motion, her eyes wide with a terror that seemed to have no bottom. "I don't know, Chris." "What don't you know?" he snarled, his voice, a low, vicious growl, meant only for her. "You were asleep! I told them you were asleep! You stick to the goddamn story!" He began to pace again, a restless, kinetic ball of fury. He'd glance at the RV, his cage, then at the police, his captors, then up at the indifferent, perpetually smiling beaver on the Bucky's side. He was a prisoner in the brightest, most cheerful-looking prison on earth. "I can't even fucking pee in my own house," he muttered, loud enough for the officers to hear, casting himself as the victim. "I'm a hostage." "You're not a hostage, sir," Officer Turner said, his voice calm, trying to de-escalate. "The fuck I ain't. I'm here against my will. That's illegal. Are we under arrest?" He bellowed at Wilcox, his voice raw. "You are not under arrest," the sergeant replied patiently, his hands resting calmly on his duty belt. "Then we can leave, right?" It was a trap, and he knew it, a piece of twisted logic he could use as a weapon. Not right now. "Then I'm under arrest," he screamed, his voice cracking with a combination of rage and self-pity. The circular, maddening logic was a hallmark of the meth-addled brain Mendez had seen 100 times before. A world where everything was a conspiracy, and they were the perpetual, blameless victim. Minutes stretched into an hour, each one a lifetime of escalating tension. Sergeant Wilcox was on the phone, getting grim updates from the hospital, coordinating with the incoming detectives. Cody was alive, but he was in the operating room. They were doing scans. The phrase, traumatic brain injury, was used. Wilcox tried to relay the information to Christopher in the calmest terms possible. A strategic offering of peace. "He's alive, Christopher. He has a heartbeat. They're working on him now. You did what a dad is supposed to do. You got him help." The words were meant to be a balm, but to Christopher, they were salt in a gaping wound of guilt. "I know what I did," he cried, tears of frustration and self-pity streaking through the grime on his face. "I did CPR. I heard him. I heard his ribs crack. I was pushing so hard." He was building his defense, trying out his story on them, polishing his performance. "See how hard I tried. See how much I cared." But the officers had seen the baby. They had seen the RV. They were not buying a single damn word of it. The standoff reached its breaking point with 4 quiet, chilling words. As another patrol car pulled in, its flashing lights adding to the psychedelic, disorienting glare, Christopher stopped his pacing. He turned and looked directly at Mendez, his eyes suddenly cold and flat and empty. "Just shoot me, guys," he said, his voice devoid of all emotion. "Just fucking shoot me." The air crackled. The statement, whether a pathetic cry for help or a veiled threat, could not be ignored. Mendez saw Wilcox's subtle hand signal, a slight twitch of his fingers. The game had changed. This man had just introduced the idea of a gunfight into a crowded, functioning gas station. He was a danger to himself, to the public, and to every officer on the scene. Wilcox got on his radio, his back to Christopher, his voice low and urgent. "He just told us we're going to have to shoot him. Be advised, I have confirmed with the mother there are firearms in the vehicle." The plan was formed in seconds, a quiet, professional consensus among the officers. They had to get him out of there. The ruse was simple, a standard play from the de-escalation handbook. Wilcox would offer him a ride to the hospital, alone, separate him from his family, his audience, his RV, his weapons, get him into a controlled environment. "Hey, boss man," Wilcox said, approaching Christopher with a placid, disarming smile. "You ready to go? I'm going to take you up there myself. My car's faster. Your baby needs a parent there to give consent for treatment. It's important." Christopher's eyes narrowed, raw suspicion warring with the desperate, narcissistic need to believe he was still in control. "What about them?" he asked, gesturing to Shelley and the unseen children. "I can only take one at a time," Wilcox said smoothly. "Let's go. Time is critical." But the paranoia won. It always did. "No. All of us. Or none of us. You're not separating me from my family. Tell your people to get the fuck here." The ruse had failed. At that moment, the detectives were pulling in, their unmarked sedan cutting silently through the sea of blue and red lights. The time for talking, for games, for placating the monster, was over. Wilcox looked at Mendez and 2 other officers, and he gave a sharp, almost imperceptible nod. It was time to take the monster off the stage. Part 2. The Unraveling. Chapter 6. The Cuffs. The takedown was a sudden, brutal piece of choreography. There was no shouted warning, no final plea for compliance. One moment, Christopher Palmer was squaring off with a detective who had just arrived, his jaw jutting out in defiance. The next, 3 officers, Mendez among them, converged on him in a blur of disciplined motion. "Police! You're under arrest! Put your hands behind your back!" The command was a formality, shouted as they were already upon him. Christopher let out a roar of indignant, animalistic rage as hands grabbed his arms, twisting them behind him with practiced, painful leverage. He was strong, with the dense, low-centered strength of a bulldog, and he fought with a wild, desperate energy, his body bucking and thrashing against their combined weight. "I didn't do nothing," he screamed, his voice raw with fury and disbelief. "Get off me! You have no right!" "Stop resisting, sir," Mendez grunted, struggling to control a flailing arm. The slickness of sweat made it difficult to get a firm grip. He could feel the raw, wiry power in the man's muscles. From the doorway of the RV, Shelley watched, her hand flying to her mouth, her knuckles white. Her face was a canvas of conflicting, warring emotions. The familiar, paralyzing terror of male violence, a dazed confusion, and a flicker of something that looked disturbingly, shamefully like relief. The 2 older boys, drawn by the commotion, now stood behind her, their small faces pale and wide-eyed in the flashing, strobing lights, silent witnesses to their father's violent capture. "Please don't, man," Christopher pleaded, his rage momentarily replaced by a theatrical whimper, the bully's sudden, pathetic plea for mercy. "Don't make this harder than it is." "Then stop fighting us," the newly arrived detective said, his voice a calm, cold baritone. He pressed his knee firmly into the small of Christopher's back as they forced him, stomach down, onto the hot hood of a patrol car. The metallic, final click of the handcuffs snapping shut echoed in the night. The fight seemed to drain out of Christopher all at once, his body going limp against the car as if his strings had been cut. "Why am I under arrest?" he asked, his voice now sullen and defeated. "Please tell me why." "You're being detained for investigative purposes," Sergeant Wilcox said, his voice calm but firm, a statement of fact, not an apology. "There is evidence consistent with abuse and neglect on that child. We have enough to hold you while we figure this out." The words hung in the air, heavy and damning. Abuse. Neglect. Christopher's head snapped up. He wasn't looking at the cops. He was looking past them, his eyes finding Shelley. They burned with a furious, accusatory fire. And then Shelley, perhaps in a misguided attempt to explain, perhaps simply stating the obvious, said the words that would ignite the final terrible explosion. "They said you did it," she whispered, her voice barely audible, but in the tense, ringing quiet, it was as loud as a gunshot. It was not an accusation, but a statement of fact, a simple relay of information. This is what they are saying. To Christopher, it was the ultimate betrayal. She had broken the first rule. You never, ever side with them. "Who said I did it?" he bellowed, straining against the cuffs, his body tensing with a fresh surge of adrenaline. "Who? Did what? Yeah, man. You want a fucking show? I'll give you a show. I beat the shit out of him to fucking wake him up." He threw his head back and laughed, a horrifying, broken, cackling sound that seemed to claw its way out of his throat. "I beat the fuck out of him. There. You happy now, you bitch?" He was playing to an imaginary audience, to the security cameras, to the cops, to her. It was a confession wrapped in a sneer, a truth told as a defiant lie. Shelley flinched as if he had physically struck her across the face. "Go fuck ahead," he spat, his eyes locking on hers, his voice dripping with venom. "Believe them. But I did not do it. Why would I hurt my own son?" The question was grotesque, a mockery of the scene they were all witnessing. The officers began to lead him towards a transport van, his vitriol now turning on them, on the world, on God himself. "I feel like I'm gonna get really angry, man," he shouted, his voice echoing across the sprawling, brightly lit gas station lot. "And I don't care about consequences when I'm doing it." He bucked again as they tried to maneuver him into the back of the van. "You guys are gonna have to hurt me, man. No one's beating your ass. Dude, please, I need it. Beat me. I need it right now." He was a man coming apart at the seams, the carefully constructed persona of the concerned father disintegrating to reveal the raging, violent, manipulative core beneath. He was begging for a beating, for a punishment that would, in his twisted, narcissistic mind, somehow absolve him or at least provide a distraction from the real, unforgivable crime. Mendez watched, his face a stony, impassive mask. He had seen this 100 times, the violent, theatrical meltdown of a profoundly guilty man trying to rewrite the narrative in real time, to frantically recast himself as the victim instead of the perpetrator. As they finally forced him into the van, Christopher had one last thing to say. He pressed his face against the wire mesh of the window, his eyes finding Shelley one last time, a final attempt to reassert his control. "You believe I did it too, don't you?" he screamed, his voice muffled and distorted by the steel. "Look at me. I did not hurt my fucking son like that. I swear to God." The heavy van door slammed shut, cutting him off. A profound, ringing silence descended on the scene, broken only by the incessant hum of the lights and the distant, mournful rumble of the highway. Shelley stood frozen, the ghost in the neon glow. The storm had passed, leaving her alone in the wreckage. But she knew, with the chilling, bone-deep certainty of a long-time victim, that the real storm, the one that had been raging inside the thin, suffocating walls of their RV for months, for years, was only just beginning to come to light. The cuffs were on him, but in a way she had never been more of a prisoner. Chapter 7. Shelley's Silence. The Warner Robins Police Department was a low, unassuming brick building that smelled of stale coffee, industrial-strength cleaner, and the low-grade despair of its temporary inhabitants. To Shelley Rooks, it felt as cold and imposing as a tomb. They had taken her other two sons, Liam and the toddler, Noah, whisking them away with a kind-faced, weary-eyed woman from Child Services who promised they would be safe and get a warm meal. Shelley had watched them go without a word, without a tear, a hollow, aching void in her chest where a mother's protest should have been. The mechanism for fighting back had rusted away years ago. Now she sat in a small, windowless interrogation room, a cup of lukewarm water untouched on the gray laminate table in front of her. The silence was a physical presence, a heavy blanket that threatened to suffocate her. After months, maybe years, of living in the constant, churning storm of Christopher's voice, his rages, his demands, his paranoid whispers, his endless, circular justifications, the quiet was deafening. It left too much room for her own thoughts to surface. The door opened and a woman came in. She was older, in her 50s, with short, practical gray hair and a face that was neither kind nor unkind, but simply patient. It was a face that had seen everything. She introduced herself as Detective Miller. "Shelley," she began, her voice calm and even, not filling the silence so much as gently probing it. "I want to talk to you about what happened tonight, and what happened to your son, Cody." Shelley stared at the table. Her entire world had been reduced to the condensation ring her cup was making on the gray surface. "I was sleeping," she said, the words a rote recitation, a line she had been ordered to learn. "Chris was giving him a bath. He dropped him." "Okay," Miller said, pulling out a notepad but not writing anything yet. She was letting Shelley see that this was a conversation, not an indictment. "Let's talk about Cody's leg. The one in the cast. The doctors at the hospital are saying it's a very serious fracture. They said it's called a bucket handle fracture. It's an injury, Shelley, that they see when a child has been shaken violently or swung by their leg." Shelley's head remained bowed, her stringy hair a curtain hiding her face. "His brother jumped on him. In the playpen, Liam. He's just a toddler. He doesn't know any better. He plays rough." "So a toddler who weighs maybe 25, 30 pounds at most jumped on an 8-month-old and caused a severe spiral fracture of the femur?" Miller's tone was neutral, a simple request for clarification, but the question itself was a surgical strike at the absurdity of the lie. "And then, instead of taking him to a doctor, you and Chris decided to make a cast out of cardboard and duct tape?" A single tear, hot and slow, traced a path through the grime on Shelley's cheek and fell onto the back of her hand. "We didn't have no money for a hospital," she whispered. "Chris said, he said they'd just take the kids away if we went. Because of everything." There it is, Miller thought. The first crack in the wall of fear. Control, isolation, threats. Why would they take the kids away, Shelley? If it was just an accident? Shelley shook her head. a tiny, frantic motion of denial. I don't know. He knows things. He's smart. He knows how they work. Miller decided to change tactics, to come at the wall from a different angle. I saw the inside of your RV, Shelley. Officer Turner described it to me. It's in a pretty rough state. It must be so hard, living like that, moving all the time, never having a place to call your own. For the first time, Shelley looked up. Her pale blue eyes were filled with a weariness that went beyond a single night of terror. It was the exhaustion of a soul that had been running on empty for years. We had to fight every day, she whispered, her voice rusty from disuse. Holding a sign on the corner. Homeless family, please help. Just to get gas money. Or for food for the boys. Every time we'd drive past a real house with a yard and a swing set, I'd tell him, I wish we could stop, Chris. I wish we could have a life like that. A normal life. What did he say? Miller prompted gently. He'd say we couldn't, that it was better to keep moving, that people were after him, that they'd try to hurt him. Why would people try to hurt him, Shelley? Shelley's eyes dropped back to the table, to the safety of the condensation ring. Because of his past. The charges. In New York. Miller knew about the